Hello and good evening. Happy Thursday. It is time for another open mic, after dark, if you will. But no, not really. Just a later night, later in the evening open mic with I like to consider a new friend of mine who was a great guest on Party Chat this last Saturday. We talked after the stream was over. I was like, hey, would you be open for coming on open mic where we just very open-ended talk about video games? He's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So we've got Alec Baldwin's finger again, twice within a week. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad to make this happen because depending on the week for me, sometimes I'm able to do it earlier and sometimes I have to do it later. And it's nice to occasionally have someone in my own time zone where when it's 9 o'clock for me, it's not already, midnight for them.
Yeah, that is true. It actually threw me off that you were in the same time zone as me because of how common it is to be on Eastern time.
Yeah, so. I think on Party Chat, you messaged me like at 8:30 in the morning, like, all right, I'm ready to go. It's like, we still got like 3 hours to go. It's like, oh, right, we're in the same time zone. So, well, cool. Welcome. Yeah, it's the first time I think I've done a stream with my overhead lights off, so it's a little darker. So going for a little more chill vibe tonight. But yeah, well, I see cool. Sophie is in the chat already. Hello again, Sophie. Good to see you. And I hope you enjoy your stay while we talk about video games. So, what scared you? Was it my logo? I need to figure out how to turn the volume down because it's always really loud. I'm assuming that's what it was. So, and we got a name I have not seen before. MMA Kreese King Jr. Hello and welcome.
Oh, yeah. Kreese, we're familiar with him from our Discord. So,
okay, well, cool. I'm pretty new to the GCA Discord. So,
he's going to be in Dallas too. So we're going to be hanging out with him.
Cool. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, as is usual for open mic, we don't typically have any topics. We just start talking and go wherever the conversation takes us. So I kind of want to start it off with something that I really connected with you on during Party Chat, and that was Satisfactory. So I only got into Satisfactory. I often mention it, like the PC I'm on now, I built it in September. And the computer I had before that was this one right here. And I had that since about 2011 or 12. And I never got it with the intention of gaming. So it was never, it could only play super like old or not resource intensive stuff because I've basically been a console gamer. So it didn't need to be a gaming PC. So, all that to say is I haven't had a quality gaming PC up until last September. So once I built my new computer that I'm on now that I had a PC that's capable of actually running games, I've been slowly building my Steam library, and I discovered Satisfactory because of a random Twitter thread it was, just one of those people that asked questions about games. It was like, post a GIF of a game you've put more than 1,000 hours into, and someone put a GIF of this construction worker person like twirling like a gun, like this little gadget. And so I replied to that person, like, what game is that? And they're like, oh, that's from Satisfactory. And they said, yeah, I've got like 2,400 hours in the game or something. Like, okay, what the heck is this game? And so I went and looked into it. And I'm like, oh, I've never really played a management game. I've never tried one. So let's give it a shot. It looks fun, and I fell in love with it. And I bought it because that was like at the end of October or early November, and like maybe it was in early November because I remember after that post, like a week later, was this Steam winter sale, Black Friday sale. That's what it was, and so I was able to pick up Satisfactory at like 50% off or something like that. It's still in early access, which I'm sure we'll get to, but it sounds like you have been playing it for basically since the beginning. I basically bought it and put everything else on hold and played it for like 120 hours over the course of the last week of November and then through December. So, and I completed up through stage 3 and I just started stage 4, and that's when I put it on hold. Yeah. So you've been around since the beginning. So I kind of want to hear more about the game in its earlier stages and kind of what's changed over the years. Did you play it pretty consistently since the beginning, or was it off and on for you?
It was off and on. It was based on the different updates. But I got into Satisfactory from playing Factorio. Is
Okay.
your
I've not played it, but I have seen it.
okay?
So I know it's very similar, just in that Satisfactory is a first-person view, and Factorio is kind of like the God's Eye over the sky view.
Yep. And I always loved Factorio. Building all the different factories, getting your production lines perfectly balanced and this and that. But I played it for so long, I got every achievement in the game. I didn't know what to really do, and after that, and then a company called Coffee Stain came along, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna make this game that's basically like Factorio, but in Unreal Engine." And I was like, "Oh hell yeah, I am in." And they launched it only on Epic Game Store, and I was pissed.
I did not even know that until you mentioned that on Party Chat the other day.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, fine, sign up for another, game platform and whip out the credit card again and put it in there, play it. It's super fun, but it wasn't complete. In fact, all over the map, there's these things called WIPs, and they stand for work in progress. And there's these summer sloops basically that are little aliens that talk to you, and there's some purpose for them, but we don't know what they are yet.
Okay, I was gonna say that's not those not glowing, but they have the orbs that you can hear from a little ways off. That's not what you're talking about, are you?
That is them. Yeah, they're like little
Okay.
little objects. Yeah, that you can pick up, and you don't really know what to do with them, so you just throw them in a chest for now. They haven't really came up with a purpose for them yet.
Okay,
But
yeah, I collect them whenever I found them, but I'm like, what the heck do I do with these? I still haven't found anything that actually uses them as a resource.
yeah, and yeah, they probably should explain that better. Like, yeah, because they do talk to you. They should be like, "Hey, I don't have a use yet. Maybe you should put me in your
Oh,
pocket and save me for later."
it has that kind of robotic voice, doesn't it?
It has like a hypnotic voice to it. It's actually really creepy, but it's hilarious after you
Oh,
hear it.
okay. Because whenever I'm playing Satisfactory, pretty much whenever I'm playing almost anything that's not super story heavy, I'm usually listening to something like a podcast or something. So I'm not if there's dialogue in the game, I'm not really paying attention to it unless it seems like it's really
Mhm.
important. So whenever I picked one of those up, and I always have captions on, so I see it saying something, I'm not paying attention to what it's saying, and I hear that it's saying something, but I'm not paying attention to what it's saying. I thought whenever I picked that up, that was like Fix It Company, like beaming some audio to my helmet telling me something. I never actually listened to it, realized that it
No,
was
it's
actually
meant
that
to be
orb that I
like
picked up that's speaking to me.
yeah, it's meant to be like an exotic life form or something. Yeah,
Okay. I never put that
but
together.
yeah, the game's interesting because uh, people thought it was going to go to crap after a while because 2K actually bought Coffee Stain Studios,
I
and
did not know.
yeah, and the community manager at the time was like, he was actually really funny. He would put out these videos of just like he would put out videos of like, hey, this company 2K is really awesome, and he would like make it look like he's like a hostage,
That's funny.
But no, 2K actually gave them the tools that they needed, and they actually decided to put the game on Unreal Engine 5, which
So
actually
what was it
through the
on
early
before? Was it
access,
on Unreal Engine 4? Or was that on a completely different engine?
it was on Unreal Engine 4, like a later version of it, but they decided they wanted to be on Unreal Engine 5. Probably because of the complexity of all the machines having to do with the performance on your computer. And I think
Oh,
there was like better logic that they could apply to make it run better. So
so Unreal Engine 5 is able to use the system resources more efficiently.
I
Something
think
along
so.
those
That's just
lines.
a theory on my part, really. So,
Okay.
but there's
So
also added graphics and, different features and things like that. So
when it upgraded to Unreal Engine 5, could you really tell, was it like a huge jump or massive difference,
it,
or was it really subtle?
it got worse, actually. It became unplayable. And I had to
Oh,
do research to turn off certain graphical features. And once you did that, it actually made the game playable again. And for whatever reason,
interesting.
those weren't ticked by default. And I think that really hurt them. So,
I'm assuming they fixed that.
but
that because I never changed anything. I booted it up as soon as I bought it first time, and I haven't had like any issues with it.
When was the last time you played it?
Do you think that they fixed? I played it was probably in January.
January?
But when I
don't know if they made the move to Unreal Engine 5 yet.
Because I'm almost positive it was on Unreal Engine 5 when I bought it in November.
Maybe it was. I don't know. I think the setting was you had to turn foliage to none or something like that. And as soon as I did that, I was like, oh man, the game is playable again. Because it had micro stutters and it was really irritating me. So
now if it is the foliage, like how, because you need that in the early game to power your biomass burners. Like,
no, it's more of the stuff you can't collect. Oh, yeah, it was the stuff on the ground that you can't collect, actually. Yeah. Yep, I know what you're talking about though. Yeah, because you have to use biomass burners to power your factory. Yeah.
Yeah. So
but
okay, so because like I said, I completed stage 3, and then I just got to stage 4. I was like looking into what I needed, and the increase of what you need to do between stage 3 and stage 4 is like exponential. I was like, the amount of time that's going to take to complete stage 4 is like way more than stages 1 through 3 combined. So I'm like, I'm going to put it on hold and I'll come back to it later. But I was greatly enjoying it. But at that time, I also got not crazy into it, but I started digging into mods for the game. And so I downloaded like the mod launcher, and I downloaded a bunch of mods, and nothing that I felt like cheats the game. But in my opinion, were just like one of the main things was just because you spend so much time traveling. I got a mod where you can set up teleporters so you can just teleport around. I mean, you have to go to that area first and build one, but that way you can just quickly get to your factory so you don't have to spend all this time traveling.
That's cool.
Quality of life improvements like that. And a bunch of new recipes for more stuff to build and that was cool. I had a lot of fun with that. But I just know that there's so much in the modding scene for that game that is like way beyond what I ever even scratched the surface of.
Yeah, and a lot of the visual mods you could download and put into the game have kind of been adopted into the base game itself now, into the vanilla version. So
yeah, it's nice when developers do that. Like really popular mods get like the developers like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to incorporate that into the actual game. I know not gaming related, but that was a somewhat common occurrence because I used to jailbreak my iPhone like all the time so I could kind of do whatever the heck I wanted with it. It was great. And like it was never really that quick, but all of the best jailbreak tweaks Apple would finally incorporate into the actual OS like years down the line. God, it took you long enough. I've had this feature for 5 years and you finally just incorporate the actual iOS, so I don't need to jailbreak in order to get that feature anymore.
You froze there for a sec.
Oh.
You froze there for a sec.
Am I good?
You're good now.
Everything's good on my end. Okay.
Yep.
I was like,
good now.
That was weird. But I forget who it was, but I had someone on my channel who was a huge player of Factorio. I have to go back and figure out who it was, but they were like, yeah, I've got like thousands of hours in Factorio. So, because Factorio is much older than Satisfactory, right?
It is, yeah. In fact, the creator of that game, I want to say it was like a 1 to 3 dev studio, and they are working on a new project, and they were kind of teasing that. And I think it was you have to build a factory on a limited, space area of a ship flying through space.
And are we talking about Satisfactory or Factorio?
Factorio.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't played it, but I remember I had someone on and they had played like a crap load of Factorio. So if I ever figure out who that is, I need to get you connected. But how we don't know, go ahead and guesstimate. Like, how much time did you put into Factorio, and how much time have you put into Satisfactory?
I can probably tell you actually. Let's see here.
Because you
Factorio.
said you've bought Satisfactory on multiple platforms now, right? Because on Epic and then on, I think I remember you
Yeah,
saying.
Factorio. I've got 406 hours. Not a whole lot, but I was able to
A
get
decent
every single
amount.
achievement in the game. Yeah. Satisfactory. I've got 302 hours on Steam, and I think I have the equivalent to that on Epic Game Store.
Okay, so
So
you got more in Satisfactory. Nice. Yeah, I'm sure I would probably like
yeah,
Factorio if I gave it a chance as well. Although I think in Factorio you also have some like native fauna that you have to fend off and keep your factory safe from threats and dangers. Is that right?
yeah. So in Factorio, the more carbon that you give off, the more it angers the alien race that exists on the planet with you,
Okay.
and the more you have to fight them off.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's one of the things that I liked about Satisfactory. It's very chill. You don't have, except for a couple of little, beasts that are, not really defending, but they kind of just exist around some of the nodes, and they're pretty easy to handle. There's not really much combat in the game, so it's very chill. That was one of the things that I liked about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get into the trouble that you want to, whereas in Factorio, there's no escaping it. They will eventually come for your base. So it's sort of like a tower defense game built with factories.
yeah,
So
that's kind of what I gathered from it as well. Which I've never,
mhm.
I don't think I've actually played any tower defense games. I've got a couple of them that I ended up with for free. Like I know a popular one was Defense Grid, which I think I got through like Games with Gold. But
Mhm.
given that I've never really, that's not really been my thing. I haven't given it a shot.
Yeah.
What was I just going to say? Shoot, I forgot. Factorio, Satisfactory. So did on Satisfactory, have you completed phase 4 then? Have you basically beaten the game?
Yes, I built the Hadron Collider, and to do that, you have to create nuclear energy, and the production line to feed the nuclear energy to get the nuclear energy is insane. So they make it kind of like a huge feat to get it set up finally. So
Okay, because I don't even remember what the requirements were to complete phase 4, but I just because I've spent not a huge amount of time, but there's basically two Reddits that I go to, and one is Subnautica because that's one of my favorite games. The other is
that was
Satisfactory,
fun.
and I see a lot of people posting their builds and stuff. And one of the often things that gets discussed is nuclear waste and what
Yeah,
people do with it. And so I'm assuming that's a requirement to complete the game, and that's
you
part
pretty
of
much have
the
to. Yeah.
and that has to do with the Hadron Collider, which is essentially the win statistic for beating the game, more or less.
Yeah. So the weird thing about the Hadron Collider, though, is that the thing that it produces isn't really used yet. Like the game is unfinished, and that's what made me kind of stop.
Okay.
But more than anything, it's fun to play with other friends. And what makes it unique for Satisfactory is that you can set up a dedicated server. And
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You mentioned that on Party Chat because I've never actually played
yeah,
it in multiplayer before, so it's something that I might need to give a shot at some point.
and I'm a network admin in real life, so it wasn't really that hard for me to set some stuff in my router, and I turned my home theater PC into a Satisfactory server.
Ooh, nice.
So,
Okay, I'll have to. Yeah, we'll definitely need to play sometime. That sounds awesome.
but the fun thing about the dedicated server is that no one needs to be online for it to work. Just the server needs to be. So you don't have to have people hitting you in DM saying, "Hey, man, can you turn on the game so I can play and this and that." And Satisfactory is really fun in the sense that you can kind of divide and conquer. Like, oh, I'm gonna go work on coal power. Oh, okay, I'm gonna work on the iron setup or whatever.
Yeah.
So that one, that's really fun to play with
Yeah. Exactly.
other people.
Yeah.
And
We'll definitely have to connect on that at some point.
to be
Um,
honest, like I kind of learned to co-op play with people like that through playing Ark a lot.
Oh, Okay, so I've don't know much about Ark, but do you know Paul Hadouken?
I know of him. Yeah.
Okay, he's a good buddy of mine, and his girl Dabzilla has like 4,000 hours in Ark or something nuts. She loves that game.
I think they have me beat. Let me check. Let's see here. Ark Survival. I have 2,300 hours.
Oh snap! Okay, you got to get connected with Paul Hadouken about Ark. But that was the other thing I was going to ask a few minutes ago that it made me think of. I played the demo and I did like the little bit that I played, but then it ended up leaving Game Pass, so I never actually played the full game. Did you ever play Rift Breaker? Are you even familiar with Rift Breaker?
Let's see. I own it. Yes, I didn't get very far with it. It didn't really hold my attention. I need to go back to it though.
Yeah, I like the little bit I played in the demo. It's basically factory building, and that's what it was when you're talking about Factorio and the carbon emissions agitates the local wildlife. You have a very similar thing in Rift Breaker where you're building stuff, and then you have to fend off hordes and waves of enemies, and then you keep building and expanding and stuff. So it's basically like a building game. I don't really know if you'd consider it a tower defense game, but more of like a RTS light game, since you're kind of your character, you're in a mech and you've got weapons and stuff, and you can build weapon towers and stuff. But yeah, one that I plan to get back to at some point.
I do want to play it again, and I do know they made a couple of DLCs, and it looks interesting.
So, but speaking of Coffee Stain, they
have a couple of good games.
Yeah, and so while just remembered because as mentioned, my buddy Paul Hadouken, and one of Paul's favorite games ever is Deep Rock Galactic, which I was blown away when I realized that was also Coffee Stain.
Yep. Different dev team, but same studio. I've played that quite a bit.
Because they're both published by Coffee Stain, not necessarily developed by them.
I think they're developed, but they're separate teams. I don't think they share very much. But
well, at least Deep Rock says the developer is Ghost Ship Games, which I've not seen that name in conjunction with Satisfactory. So I don't think they have anything to do with Satisfactory, but still being published by the same one, I thought that was kind of cool.
But that's what's kind of fun about Coffee Stain Studios is that the community managers, they put out regular YouTube videos of what's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they seem really connected with their fan base.
Yeah, and you can kind of just gauge how the company works. It's kind of cool. So, but yeah, Deep Rock Galactic is really fun. It's basically Helldivers before Helldivers was a thing.
Okay, I've not played Deep Rock yet, but Paul's got a lot of hours. He tries to get everyone to play it, and I'm like, I will play it with you eventually.
It is really funny too. Coffee Stain, it seems like everybody over there has a sense of humor. Yeah.
Yes. The this isn't exactly Coffee Stain, but one of the things that got me it wasn't the game itself. It was a content creator that his thing is Satisfactory. I found him because of a video I stumbled across when I was first getting into Satisfactory. He just had a video showcasing his world and that he's put 2,400 hours in. But that one of the things that he had on his channel, he's a Twitch streamer, and when he takes a break, he puts a little away message or something. He had this music video by another YouTuber content creator, and it's the Satisfactory Rap. Are you familiar with the Satisfactory Rap?
The Satisfactory Rap. Is that one of the videos that they made?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you just look up Satisfactory Rap, you'll find it. I think the channel's name is Stupendium.
Okay.
And it's really catchy. And I remember when I first discovered it, I listened to that song on loop for a couple weeks. It's great.
Stupendium. Yeah, I see that.
So if you haven't, I just recommend bookmarking that and check it out later because it's great.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about Satisfactory, you'll be like, oh, I get that. And I get that. So
Yeah, I mean the little videos that they put out for each update too for Satisfactory are just really well done and are like funny at the same time.
oh, speaking of the devil, I mentioned every time this happens, I mention Paul and he shows up like immediately. What's up, Paul? And he's like, we talking his nickname for Deep Rock Galactic is Deep Dick and Dwarves. I don't know why or where it came from, but we talking Dick Dwarves. Yes, we were talking about it briefly because we were talking about Coffee Stain because that's also the publisher of Deep Rock Galactic, and what we were just talking about was Satisfactory.
But yeah, Deep Rock Galactic is one of those games that
Yeah,
is
the
much
devs are
better
hilarious.
when you play with your friends.
Okay.
And
I'm sure it is a lot of fun playing with your friends. Although it's definitely not one of those games that you need to play with your friends in order to have fun. I've greatly enjoyed my time with Satisfactory, and I've played it entirely solo. Whereas, in my opinion, like a game like Borderlands is boring solo, but is a lot of fun in co-op.
Well, I'm going to push back on that. I think
Okay.
that Deep Rock is actually impossible to play by yourself.
Oh, Deep Rock. I was
Yeah.
just talking about Satisfactory.
Oh
Since
yeah, no, you can
since I
definitely play that alone. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Since I haven't played Deep Rock yet, I don't know, but I would definitely think that
Yeah.
game would be difficult solo, unless it scales to how many are playing. But I don't think it does.
Because you need different classes in order to
off
tackle
missions.
certain obstacles. Like if you don't have a scout with you, then you're not going to be able. Or what is it? No, the engineer. If you can't make the little platforms to get to the different areas, then you're going to be really hurting to get things done on by a certain time. So
Okay,
it's like a navigation issue.
Gotcha. Yeah, Deep Rock definitely sounds like that's a game that is much better in a group of friends or co-op.
Yeah. In fact, I think you have to try to like do matchmaking in order to play it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So,
But
Paul, another thing that we just mentioned, I was like, I got to get you two connected because he is a fan of Ark as well. And I was telling him how Dabs has like 4,000 hours in Ark. So he's like, you got me beat, but not by a huge margin. So he's got a lot of hours in Ark as well.
I'm at 2,300 hours. So, and after I play 1,000 hours, I'm like, all right, I'm done with this game. Never going to play it again. And then like someone's like, hey, you want to play Ark? I'm like, all right, I'll play a little bit with you. And then I end up playing like another 1,000 hours. So
it's not to that extreme, but for me, that's kind of like me with Subnautica. Like I mentioned on Party Chat, I'm an achievement hunter and a completionist, and I would like to try to get through as many games as possible. So when I'm done with a game and I've got 100%, it takes a lot to get me to go back to a game and play it again when there's no achievements on the line because I've already got them all. And I've beaten Subnautica 1 probably like 8 or 9 times, and I've beaten the second one probably about 4. And it's one of those games where I would keep in my quick resume to go back to, like if I can't figure out what I want to play, it's like, oh, back to Subnautica. And it's dangerous because every time it's like, I'll pop on like when I have beaten it and I, like, all right, it'll be a while till I play it. And then I'm like, get the itch for it. Like not even like a month later. Like I think last year I beat it twice in July. And so it's like, it's dangerous it's like, I'll just pop in and start a new game and I'll play it for, like an hour or so. And then I end up playing through the whole game again. It's like, dang it, there goes another 20 hours I could have spent on another game that I hadn't played yet. Oh, dear Lord. So Dabs has 8,000 in Ark. I thought it was 4,000. So yeah.
That's really easy to do when you basically leave your PC on in the middle of the night, logged into the game, so that you can set your alarm and make sure to feed your tames or what do you call it? You have to imprint your animals that you're breeding.
Okay. Does it exist on like a real world timer?
Yes.
Or is it
yes.
In-game?
Real world timer.
Oh, that's nuts.
And most people like to play the game modded because the vanilla timers are unreasonable. So back in the day when they introduced wyverns to the game, there was if you wanted to breed a wyvern, it would take Paul, remind me how long it was. It was like was it like 7 real life days to breed a wyvern, and you had to like feed it wyvern milk every like 6 hours
In real time.
in real time.
It's
And
like, dude, it's like a real life baby, but worse. Not quite.
it might have even been 2 weeks. Like it turned into like a guilt thing to where people were like password share because imprinting was character specific.
It's like we're teaming up on this. I'll take the 3 o'clock shift in the morning, and then you take. That's hilarious.
Yeah, like you used to have to like give people your Steam login so they can log in as you in the middle of the night because you're taking shifts to feed a damn wyvern.
That's funny,
bunch of
but
pixels.
I'm assuming that was a great tame or mount or whatever you want to call it. Was it?
Oh, it was the best at the time.
Okay.
You were incredibly fast, and you could pick up other things that any other dino couldn't. And you could also breathe fire or shoot lightning out of your mouth. It was badass.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like for that kind of commitment, it better be badass.
Yeah.
So, well, I saw a bunch of people hop in here. I mean, it was already a little while ago, but I want to say what's up to Vanquish, my buddy Vanquish, Alec Baldwin Finger. Don't miss. Hail. What's up, Vanquish? And Project Taco. Hello. I've seen you before on other people's streams, but I think it's the first time you hear at my channel. So, hello and welcome.
Yeah, Project Taco is our Helldivers expert.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm still only like level like 15 or 16. I'm still pretty low because that's one of those games where I'm not going to play it solo. I'm only going to play it in co-op. So I'll join if I'm able to, and someone's playing, I'll join him, but I'm not going to boot it up and play by myself. So
yeah.
But I have liked what I think I've got maybe about 20 hours in the game or so. I've enjoyed it.
Okay.
And, yeah. But I'm really connected with the Salty Nerd podcast guys. Pretty good friends with them, and since they started their Salt Divers podcast, they created a channel in Discord just for Helldivers, and that section and their gaming channel is kind of blown up. So it's cool to see them.
Salty Nerd guys, those are the guys in Vegas, right?
Yeah, they're in Vegas.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the last couple of Vegas meetups, they basically loan out their studio to everyone. I think they did FNT from there. The last 2 Vegas meetups, and a bunch of other people have done their streams there as well. But yeah, the Salty Nerd crew they're awesome people.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got the hat right there, but I need to wash it because it's got a bunch of sweat stains on it, so it doesn't look as good. You can see it reflected off, and this hat's in better shape. So that one fits better. I like that hat even better, but it doesn't look as good. I need to figure out how to wash it. But yeah, shout out to the Salty Nerds. They're awesome. And I see Naggardnall. What's up, Naggardnall? Welcome back. Good to see you again. And last week's open mic guest, Christian Frades. Hello, Christian. Good evening, buddy. Good to see you. And one of my other stream co-hosts, Shaka Zulu. What's up, Shaka Zulu? Good to see you.
Yeah, he's on my show like every other week.
Yeah.
Shaka's awesome.
Yeah, Shock's cool. Oh, look at Neo Buff Pants over there. Oh, that was one thing I wanted to ask you. The reason why I'm wearing this is because it's one of my only like cutoff shirts. I don't normally wear something like this, but it's been hot here in Sacramento. It's been over 100 the last couple days. What's it been like in Arizona this week?
It was hot today. Like I was driving around between work and my parents' house, and I had my AC on in my truck at full blast the entire time. Still felt kind of hot. So
I think this is because right. Sometimes it was nice that it waited a little bit because sometimes it gets super hot just in May. It was nice that it actually waited June to get hot. But yeah, the last couple of days have been just over 100, and so the pool has felt great.
Oh man!
But being in Arizona, I figured it's probably like already 110 there.
Yeah, what was it today? Let me see here. It was definitely over 100. I'll give you that. Yeah, I think it got to like 100 and 108 or something like that. Yeah,
it gets like that here occasionally. Usually it's in the low hundreds. Sometimes it'll get up there. Not as often, but I know it gets hot there. And another Arizonian. What's up, Static? Good to see you. And Amin Ra. Moo to you, Amin Ra. Hello. Let's see here. Weasel. I don't think I've seen you before, but welcome and hello, ABF.
Weasel likes to follow me around, and he will make fun of you. He's pretty good at it, actually.
Let's see here. Cool. All right. Yeah, and that's right. Vanquish is also another Arizonian, hence the AZ. We are in area 110, no problem. Yeah.
Yep.
And 110, like as we call it, the dry heat is so much better than like a 90-degree on the East Coast with like 100% humidity. That is so much worse.
Yep, you're not trying to rip your balls off of your leg that's sticking to it. So
Cool. All right. Well, another thing that I like to ask that can usually lead to a multi-hour discussion is just asking, what got you into gaming? Where'd you start? What was kind of your history in gaming? Like I was a Nintendo kid. I got a Super Nintendo for Christmas in like 92 or 93. Thanks to my grandparents. I was a Nintendo kid until high school. I built my PC, this one right here. That was built for gaming. It was top tier at the time, but I never kept it up. So it quickly got outclassed, and then I became a console gamer and I've been on Xbox ever since. So what's kind of your background in gaming and your history? Where'd you get started?
Oh man, that could lead to a long question for sure. But probably started with NES.
Okay.
I grew up with a younger brother, older brother, and an older sister.
Okay.
And one console went a long ways in our household.
I'm an only child, so I didn't ever have to fight with anyone for the controller.
NES. I remember having like the Duck Hunter, pistol and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I played NES at other people's houses, but I never had one myself.
Okay, and then we had
I freaking hate that
Super.
stupid dog on Duck Hunt. He's always mocking you. I always want to shoot him, but you can't. Speaking of that dog, because I recently just got a Switch about a month ago because I spent a lot of time traveling in May for work, and so I finally got a Switch because I've been wanting to for a really long time. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna be traveling for a lot. I'll get a Switch because as one of my big things is Metroidvanias. I still never played Metroid Dread, so I finally got around to that. But I also picked up Smash Ultimate, and that Duck Hunt is a character in there, the dog and the duck together. So I thought that was kind of funny having them show up in a fighting game, and now I can finally beat that dog.
Well, it's funny you say that the Switch just to play Metroid Dread. That's what I did recently. I bought a Switch and I played and beat Metroid Dread.
Nice.
And then I realized I wasn't utilizing my Switch, and someone else in the GCA was saying they wish they had a Switch, and I gave it to them. So
nice.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not using it. I'm a PC, Steam gamer now. So
okay. Yeah,
but
I never. All right, yeah, go ahead. Oh, and one thing I was going to point out is that Weasel's like, I know Nerdy from Side Scrollers chat. Yes, I've not ever been on Side Scrollers, but I am in the chat pretty much every day. So
I pretty much watch them for like at least like half hour, 45 minutes in the morning when I can. So
yeah, I will keep an eye out for you in the future, Weasel. But hello. So go ahead and continue. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, and then I moved on to Super NES. We even had the rocket launcher.
Oh, the Super Scope?
Yeah, is that what it's called? Super Scope.
Yeah, basically it's one of those like almost forgotten relics because like almost nobody like knew it actually existed except for showing up as an item in a bunch of the Smash Bros games. I never had one. I used one once when I was a kid. My neighbor across the street had one, and I got to play it once. I don't even remember playing it. I just remember that I held one, and I thought it was cool, but I don't even remember what games it worked with or how it worked, but I just thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So you had one?
I have memories of my older brother beating me mercilessly with it. So
okay. So what games did the Super Scope work with?
Shoot. I think there was some variation of Duck Hunt on Super Nintendo. And then there was something else, but I don't remember, to be honest. Might have had too much alcohol in my last 10 years to remember that one. But what was it? After that, I got a and this is similar to Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. I had a Panasonic 3DO.
Okay, that was the one that was like crazy expensive that like nobody had, right?
It was stupid expensive. My dad got like some bonus at the time, and we were at this place called Incredible Universe. You
I
ever heard of
think
that?
I've heard that name before, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. It was a retail store that eventually turned into Fry's Electronics.
Oh, that's why I loved Fry's. My local Fry's
Yeah.
went out of business, or actually the entire company went under. I think not that long
They're all
ago.
gone now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so sad when they went out of business. I was like, oh, that was my favorite store ever.
And now there's no electronics store in Phoenix to get anything. So
Yeah, and it was funny. I mentioned Fry's on one of my streams maybe like a month or so ago, and someone in chat was like super confused because apparently Fry's is also a grocery store chain that I'd
yes.
never even heard of, and
And
they didn't know about Fry's the electronics store. So we're both talking about Fry's, but I'm talking about the electronics store. They're talking about grocery store, and I'm like, what the heck are you talking about?
it's not even that like Fry's is in a different region. Like Fry's Electronics and Fry's grocery store were literally in the same region in the West. So
Okay, because I
we
never
had
heard
Fry's
of
grocery
Fry's
stores.
grocery stores.
Yeah, we had them both in the same state, so it was confusing to us too. But
And Vanquish is saying Fry's, man. Thunderbird made me sad the last 4 years before they finally won there. What Thunderbird? Do you know what
oh,
that's about?
he's talking about the Fry's that was on Thunderbird Road here in Phoenix.
Oh, okay. So he's local to your area, so you guys are talking
Yeah.
something that I have
So
no idea.
the Fry's Electronics were themed differently, and if I remember correctly, the one on Thunderbird was it looked like a Mayan temple.
Interesting. Now that you, because we had two here in Sacramento. One was in Roseville, and one was in. Actually, they were kind of both in Roseville. No, one was in Natomas and one was in Roseville. The
Mhm.
one in Natomas, I don't remember it having a theme, but the one in Roseville, that's the one I went to because it was a little bit closer, was train themed. It actually had a train, like basically like a full size train engine, like sticking out of the front of the building.
That
And
sounds awesome.
it had like
actually.
one of those like Western like water towers
Mhm.
that they would use for like steam engines. It
Yeah,
was pretty cool. And they had
that
like
is really
the
cool.
floor was painted with train tracks on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Fry's was a super crazy store. Like, dude, if you needed anything, it was basically a Radio Shack and a micro center in one.
I've heard of Micro Center. I've never been to one, but
Micro Center, you can basically just get any PC part you want there. So it was that mixed with like, hey, I need like a certain size transistor. Like you could go to Fry's Electronics and get that, you know?
that's why I liked Fry's so much better than Best Buy, because Best Buy was like you can buy full computers, but you can't buy individual parts there. You wouldn't be able to go to Best Buy and build a computer like you could at Fry's.
Mm-hmm.
Although last time I went to Best Buy was a couple months ago, they actually did have some like actual computer parts like RAM and CPUs and stuff and cases. I was like, I guess you could buy
Yeah.
one now, but you couldn't back then. But maybe it's because Fry's is gone. They're like, oh, we can maybe fill that gap in the market now. But I mean, who doesn't buy their computer parts online now anymore?
You can build a computer from Best Buy, but the variety is super low.
Yeah.
So like you're basically limited, to like three different, AMD processors and three different Intel processors and like two different motherboards,
Yeah, not a very wide selection. He's
Yeah.
like, man, don't get me started. Yeah. And he was also saying that Steam is his jam. Also, a big Steam Deck guy. Also, Neo Ghost of Tsushima on Steam Deck is amazingly good. I don't have a Steam Deck, so but I'll take your word for it.
I recently got a Steam Deck. I haven't used it very much, but it is a really cool device. And
I would definitely have no problem having one, but
yeah,
not very high on the priority list right now.
it's kind of interesting too because I think it runs on Linux and it just like
Yes.
basically throws the games through an emulator. It's really cool, actually.
Yeah, if I was to get a handheld PC like that, I'd probably go with the ROG Ally since it's Windows based. And being an Xbox guy, I would have access to a lot of my Xbox and Game Pass stuff. Although there's a lot of rumors that the Xbox showcase on Sunday, they may announce an actual Xbox handheld.
Oh, there could be some really interesting stuff coming in this next event. But the ROG Ally, I would watch. I think it's Jay's 2 Cents or Gamer Nexus on it because there's some controversy with Asus right now.
Oh, interesting.
to the point where they don't want to use the entire brand anymore.
Ooh, goodness.
Yeah. So
not that I have any plans of getting a handheld PC. Just if I was to, that's probably what I'd go with. But I would look into that. But I don't expect to get one of those ones anytime soon, if ever. But good to know.
Yeah, I would just I would take another look at the Steam Deck because there's two different ones now. There was the Steam
standard
Deck
and the OLED.
Well, no, it maybe it is OLED, but there's a later iteration of it to where they actually like up the hardware inside of it. So
because I did not hear about that, because I do remember hearing about the OLED, and it's it's got a nicer screen, which helps with battery life, but the actual internals were still the same, so it can't play games any better than the original version. So it wouldn't be something to upgrade for if you already had one, but if you didn't have one, it was a good time to buy.
Yeah, and maybe I am thinking of the OLED one because of the OLED in there, it actually is a space saver, and the everything inside of it is actually able to fit in there better and more efficiently, to where like the battery life and performance and everything is just better.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Paul dropped the link to his Discord, so if you want to go hang out with him, go sub to his Discord, because Paul's an awesome dude. He's a good friend. And Weasel's saying that I heard the Xbox handheld will be licensed to outside manufacturers. That's what I was saying ever since all these rumors about an Xbox handheld started swirling like a year ago. I was like, as much as I would love that, I don't think it makes any sense for Microsoft to put out their own Xbox handheld. It would make a lot more sense to partner with someone like ROG or one of those other. There was another one.
Steam.
I don't know about the inner workings of the companies, whether Steam would even be up for that. But yeah, definitely Steam. There's another one of those handheld PCs that just came out, I just heard about it the other day. It's actually not even out yet. I don't remember what it's called. But it makes a lot more sense to partner with them and just be like, hey, this brand has the Xbox seal of approval. Like, this is the official one that we endorse, rather than starting from scratch and making their own. That's my opinion. But either way, that would definitely be something that would bump up on the priority list of getting one of these, handheld gaming PCs. Still not terribly high important, especially with a lot of things having cloud gaming. But that was one of the things when the whole PlayStation Portal came out. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing ever. It can't even play games natively. It can only stream things. It's like, you can already do that from what I hear, because I've never had a PlayStation, but I hear that you can already do that with like the PlayStation app. So what's the point of spending $200 on the Portal when you can get a Razer Kishi for your phone and do it for way less? It's like, if you can install stuff on it and play it natively, then sure, that makes a lot of sense. It's basically be like PlayStation's version of the Switch. But when it's a streaming only device, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, one thing I will say is that it does seem like Microsoft really, really wants to crush Sony. And one of the moves that they've been talking about making is allowing Steam to be on the Xbox.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. Something that I've been hearing a lot of talk about across the internet. And I like the idea of being an Xbox guy. I would love that. Overall, for the gaming industry, I don't think that's a great idea. But I
don't either. In fact,
I enjoy it.
I've been increasingly more and more against anything that Microsoft does. I think that Game Pass is a dangerous thing, because what they will do is what have they already been doing? They acquire all these different game companies. They throw a game together and they say it's good, but it's not. And they're like, oh, you have access to it. Aren't you happy? Just pay us monthly. And they will give you the lowest amount of effort games possible for a monthly fee. And I don't like that model. I like being able to buy a game and playing that. And if it's a bad game, you don't buy it.
Everything on Game Pass you can buy and you even get a discount for. There's not, to this day, there has still not yet been a Game Pass exclusive game that you can only play on Game Pass.
I understand that, but they are muscling towards the direction that I just said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's definitely a dangerous line. It definitely could go that way, and I would
Yeah.
definitely not be a fan if they're like, okay, now these games you can only play on Game Pass and you can't buy them if you want. That's basically what Nintendo does with all their backwards compatible stuff or
Yeah. And
backwards compatible stuff. You can only get it on their service. You can't actually buy the games and play them.
mhm. And the games that are going to be available on the Game Pass is just going to be determined by some bean counter from the accounting department. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was another thing is like there's more games on Game Pass that are not Microsoft first party than there are first party games. So there's tons of different developers and stuff that are represented across the breadth of Game Pass.
Right. And I just see it as sort of like Netflix. Netflix was amazing at first, right?
That's what Vanquish exactly just said.
Oh, no kidding.
They seem to be
Yeah,
going
yeah.
the direction Netflix for quantity
Yeah.
over quality.
Netflix was incredible at first, but now it's just like kind of like I don't know. And I don't want to get political, but they started going in a certain direction with their entertainment.
Yeah.
And you can't really vote with your wallet anymore on each individual piece of content that they make because it's all wrapped up into a monthly fee for everything. So
Yeah, true.
yeah. So I mean, if you don't like the latest Halo game, how are you supposed to show that with your wallet? You cut off access to every game that you can on Game Pass. Like I don't like that.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of with on the opposite, or not even exactly opposite end of the spectrum, but going slightly political, but kind of with the whole canceled Netflix because of cuties thing.
Yeah, and like you were saying, we don't talk about politics here, but like sometimes it crosses over in like tiny ways.
It's difficult to avoid because it's
Yeah.
in freaking everything.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where it's like I kind of want my channel to be kind of a reprieve from that, where we just talk about the good stuff, or it doesn't necessarily like I'd like to keep my channel pretty positive,
Yeah.
and not talk about like bad stuff. But if we do, it's like the stuff that's kind of fun to hate on,
Yep.
like Redfall was just god awful
Oof.
crap.
Yeah.
And I think that they made it more playable, but that's one of those studios that unfortunately just got shuttered this week, and you can't really.
What was that other studio that got shuttered also? That was
I don't know the names of all of them, but
you know who I'm talking
I
about? They
know-
were attached to like Sweet Baby Inc. and they went under and everybody was like, haha.
Okay, because that's not. I don't think what you're talking about was one of the ones that was
No,
shuttered this
there's
week
been
by
several.
Microsoft, because there was Tango, which I'm pretty sure they were the ones that just did Hi-Fi Rush, and that game did fantastic. So that's kind of been a bummer. It's like, hey, you put out this indie game, everyone loved it, it really did great, and now you're shuttering the company. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I can't remember. It was like some game with this like girl, and the acting in the cutscene was totally cringe. And yeah, I don't want to get into it, TG, because it'll get political.
Paul's saying Volition with the recent last year's Saints Row, that was trash.
The Saints Row, definitely. They shot themselves in the foot from day one.
I knew that one was going to be a disaster from day one. Like, this does not look like it's going to be good.
Oh.
I never got into Saints Row, but I know I would have enjoyed them, because I was just saying when I was over in Melee Town Square how I find basically Rockstar's games so boring. Sorry, Vanquish AZ. He loves like Red Dead and
that's it.
Red Dead. Oh, Forspoken, yes. That was Square Enix published. I don't remember what the developer was.
The developer, I think, actually closed their doors.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Forspoken, that's right. God, that looks so cringe. But yeah, I don't think Rockstar's games are bad. I just think that they're very boring and they have no interest to me. And I forgot where I was going with that.
I like Rockstar games. I think that
I find GTA games boring, but I'm sure I would have had a heck of a lot of fun with the Saints Row games, because those look like a blast. Because I love those open world destruction games. Like I was talking with my good buddy BD Jake a couple weeks ago when he came on for part 2 of Open Mic. Just Cause is one of my favorite open world games. I love those games. Specifically, Just Cause 3 is my favorite. Prototype that game was so much fun, just blowing the crap out of everything. But yeah, GTA just didn't do it for me. I found it boring. And that's one thing that Melee Games was also saying is LA Noire. I never played an LA Noire because that looked even more boring than GTA. I've heard it was pretty good though.
The story is really good. Yeah, maybe you just don't like story-driven games. You just like,
I
mess
do.
around.
It depends on the game though, because I like a lot of the Telltale games, and those are basically playable movies where you just pick your dialogue choices and see how the story plays out. And I like those things too. So it really depends.
Let me ask you, since you're an Xbox guy, did you play Crackdown?
Oh, I love Crackdown.
Yeah, Crackdown was the best.
I loved all three of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Carl is listening. Maybe he's lurking, or maybe he'll catch us later. Cult of Carl from RNG Gaming Podcast. I was on his show a couple months ago, and for some reason we got on the topic of Crackdown. He's like, God, now I got to go play Crackdown again. Now, like every one of his streams, he's like, oh, that bastard Neo's got me playing Crackdown again. And I'm like, yes, but I love Crackdown.
Dude, I saw Crackdown in like some list the other day, and I was like, oh man, now that I saw Crackdown, I want to play it again.
And it was great because I was never planning on playing it. Literally, the only reason I bought it was for the Halo 3 beta. And it ended up being a great game, and I fell in love with it. That's probably why we were talking about Crackdown, because we were talking about Halo, and I was talking about the Halo 3 beta, and that's why I got Crackdown.
Well, no, you were talking about open world games, and that reminded me of Crackdown, because that's kind of open world. So
yeah, well, I was just talking about when I was on Cole Carl's stream.
Oh, gotcha.
I think we got on the topic of Crackdown because we were talking Halo, and the Halo 3 beta is why I bought Crackdown, but I ended up loving that game.
Yeah.
But I want to get back to Vanquish real quick. He says, I appreciate the more positive side you provide. I can only take negativity so long before I finally tune out. So yeah, I like to keep it positive, and when we do go negative, it's more of like the fun negative, not like the doom and gloom negative.
Yeah, if you want negativity, go over to my podcast on Mondays. We just that's why I got into the space. Is I think gaming is going in the wrong direction, and I like to point it out. So
yeah,
I like to keep it in check.
Most of that stuff I totally agree with. I like to keep more positive, and heck, there could literally not be another video game release for any platform for like at least 5 years, and I'd be perfectly happy, and I'd finally get a chance to catch up on all the games that I've been wanting to play. Well,
I think what's keeping the scratch, from being or scratching the itch is the independent studios.
Yeah,
we got games like Phasmophobia. We got games like what is it called? Content. Oh, I can't remember. But we got damn it. Hold on, let me look it up.
Okay, you look it up.
We got Lethal Company.
Company Boys have been playing that.
Content Warning. Have you heard about this game called Content Warning?
I've heard the name of it. I know nothing about it other than the name of the game.
So, all right, you and 3 other friends have a camera, and you go down this elevator into Old World, is what they call it, and there's monsters down there. So you're just like going around like filming random stuff, and you kind of
like a survival horror game.
Sort of. It's more of like, think of like a bunch of idiotic content creators that you hate. You know what I mean? going down to film some stuff to get a bunch of clicks on the internet. You know what I mean?
Do these content creators end up getting killed by beasts and scary things that go bump in the night, or
more often than not, to be honest?
Okay, that sounds funny.
So you take your camera and you like film all these interactions with all these different monsters, trying to kill you and stuff, and then you get the camera back up to the real world and you throw the disc in this machine, and it like compiles it into like into this really cool montage video. And it does it so funny to where like all the different scenes that are stitched together with all your commentary and stuff is so funny.
Okay, I'll have to check out some streams of this game because I've heard the name, but I literally didn't know anything about it until just now.
Yeah, you end up like pissing yourself laughing with how funny some of the videos turned out to be. So
that sounds great. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people in chat are liking the sound of this game too.
Yeah,
but yeah, like a lot of people are all black pilled and all doom and gloom about the state of gaming, which there is a lot of crap, that's for sure. But if all you play is AAA, then yeah, there's not a lot to look forward to. But if you expand your horizons and play stuff, more indie, there's lots of great stuff out there.
I'm in the camp that I think that AAA can't make a good game anymore. They actually can't. Like the last
I
good thing that we could get is
don't know. I could say I could counter that.
well, the last good thing that we could get is Helldivers 2, and that's because they were unshackled from an actual AAA company.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But
I wouldn't even
now they are
consider that
again.
AAA. That was more
Yeah.
double A.
Yep. And
The last big AAA. That's a good question. What was like the
Yeah.
last big triple? I mean,
like look at what Microsoft has done, for instance, right? What was the last Halo game? That was like really popular for what, 2-3 weeks?
yeah, not terrible. I don't know. I haven't played Halo Infinite yet. I'm going to at some point. But yeah, didn't have a huge lifespan. And
I
don't even
actually
know if
haven't played
people
it.
even play it. The
Yeah.
multiplayer anymore. Is it on live support or still going? I have no idea.
I think that the servers are basically dead on that. I think that you can find games and whatnot, but the amount of players playing it is just next to nothing. I don't think that GTA 6 will be a good game because they're just not going to be as risque as GTA 5.
Yeah, they're gonna tone it down for sure. And that was
Like-
one of the things that kind of put them on the map was just how their games were always pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Envelope.
And one of the examples I give is in GTA 5, there was a mission where you had to hunt down a guy with a lispy voice on a scooter called the Faggio.
I've heard about that.
Do you think that they would do anything as risky as that in GTA 6? And
I
if the answer
doubt
is
it.
no, it's not going to be as good of a game. You know what I mean?
They'll be too worried about getting canceled.
That's why I think that our fate lies in the independent creators.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of like what was the last big blowout AAA game that like did gangbusters. I mean, before it came out, Cyberpunk, but that turned out to be one of the biggest disasters of a launch ever.
They had to offer refunds on the PlayStation platform. Remember that?
Yeah, that was and that I think it was
Elden Ring is like
Oh.
the last like uncorrupted one. You're right.
Yes, thank you, Vanquish. That's a good one, Elden Ring. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd consider FromSoft AAA, but
I don't know either.
It very well could be made. The argument could be made that they are, because basically all their games have been fantastic. And from what I hear, I haven't really played any of them, and I think they've all launched in a pretty good state. Yeah, Paul's saying From Software is now AAA, which I definitely would agree with. I mean, how many people are super stoked for the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC that's coming out soon?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Weasel saying Hogwarts Legacy, that sold gangbusters as well.
That did. I wouldn't really consider that a game.
On that, though.
That's not a game that like I'm like personally interested in, though.
Yeah, I don't give a crap about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, talk about getting snubbed. It was the highest selling game of last year. They didn't even mention it for the Game Awards.
Yep. Yeah, that is weird, isn't it? Because that actually, I watched people stream that and I was like, this is a pretty good game. Like, I'm not playing it, but I enjoy watching it, and it's a good game. I can tell,
Oh, and Paul's saying we'll play Halo Infinite when we get to it in co-op, because we're going to be starting. Because he was doing Halos 1 and 2 with my other brother in achievement hunting, dude 1286. He did Halo 1 and 2, and we're going to be starting 4-player co-op in Halo 3 soon.
That sounds fun.
Since Halo 3 was the first one that you could play in 4-player co-op.
Nice.
It might take a while to get through 3, Reach, ODST, 4, and 5.
Dang, it's been such a long time since I've played those. That would be fun to go back and play.
Yeah. And I need to go back, and because I'm an achievement hunter, I need to go back and do Halos 1 and 2, because I still need to do, in the Master Chief Collection, of course, I still have I have almost all of the par score achievements left to get. I've gotten almost none of them. However, I do have 100% in all of the original games. So I have 100% in Halo 3 on 360, ODST on 360, Halo 4 on 360, Halo 5 on Xbox One, just not in the Master Chief Collection. Although Halo 5 wasn't in Master Chief Collection, oddly enough. But yeah, I did complete all those games in their original form, but I still have, because Master Chief Collection has 700 achievements. It's the game that has more achievements in it than any other game on Microsoft's platform. And I've got a little over 600. So I've got most of them. My buddy Dude 1286, he has 100% Master Chief Collection, which is insane because in order to do that, you have to complete the Lasso playlist for all the games in the Master Chief Collection. Do you know what Lasso is?
No, what's that?
So it's an acronym, LASO, Legendary All Skulls On. So if you die, you go. Well, if you're playing in solo, the Iron Skull makes you go back to the beginning of the level. If you're playing co-op, if any one of your teammates die, you go back to the last checkpoint. Whereas that's how it actually was on Legendary and Halo 2. But all the other Halo games in Legendary, if one person dies, the rest of the team can still keep fighting on until they get to the next checkpoint, and it'll revive whoever died. But with the Legendary Skull, if one person dies, it restarts the checkpoint for everyone. You have stuff like you have no HUD, you have half ammo, your guns do less damage, you have to melee enemies in order to get your shields back. So it's crazy. You have no HUD. I think I mentioned no HUD. So Lasso is nuts, and he's beaten all the Lasso playlists, which I will never do.
Yeah, that sounds hard.
Because Paul, like I said, Paul and Dude have been playing through it, and Dude is really good. He's been carrying Paul through Halos 1 and 2 on Legendary, and because of that, Paul has basically all the par score achievements that I don't have now. I'm still jealous because I need to go back and do them, and he's not an achievement hunter, and I am. They're all saying, "Oh, F that! I don't have the patience anymore." Yeah, I will never get the Lasso achievements. But yeah, I've done solo Legendary on all the Halo games. I still need to go back and do it on Reach on Master Chief Collection because there's basically, for the most part, all of the like Halo 3, ODST, Reach, for most, if not all of their original achievements were also in Master Chief Collection, but they added additional ones. So like I beat Reach on Legendary solo on 360, but I still have to go back and do it in the Master Chief Collection because it's been a really long time since I played Reach. But yeah, I got to talk about Halo for a lot too, because that's what got me back into console gaming. When I was talking earlier how I built this PC right here and was in PC gaming, it was Halo that brought me back to console gaming. And that's why I'm an Xbox guy to this day, is basically because of Halo.
Yeah, I had an Xbox One, and I remember playing Halo for the first time and plugging in a second controller, and my brother and I just...
On the Xbox One?
Sorry, the Xbox.
The original Xbox.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, stupid naming convention. I hate Microsoft naming convention because the Xbox One. Oh, you mean the first one or the actual Xbox One, which is like the third or fourth Xbox?
No, I meant the original Xbox, the one that had an X on it.
Yes. Yeah, dude. Halo 1 LAN parties are some of my favorite memories of high school.
Yeah, my buddies and I, we used to put TVs in our vehicles and set them up at someone else's house with a network switch, you know.
Nice.
And that was back when TVs weighed a lot.
Yes, they were still CRT TVs, so those things weighed a ton.
Yeah, it wasn't these OLED TVs that weigh like 15 pounds. They were like, it was like solid glass on the front of those things. So
I remember when I was a kid and my dad got a 36-inch TV and the thing weighed like 120 pounds.
I believe it.
Yeah, good time.
Yeah, dude, I remember the first time we hooked up a bunch of Xboxes together and we played Halo for the first time, not split screen. It was the greatest thing in the world.
Yes. I always have to shout this out whenever we're talking about Halo 1 and multiplayer, because one of our buddies, because we were like all super into Halo, we'd play it like multiple times a week. We're all pretty good. And one of the things that the guy who is the best in our group, I think he played this a lot, and that's why he was so good. We played Halo 1 online before Xbox Live existed using a program called Xbox Connect. This is like the actual spelling of Connect, not like the Connect sensor bar that they added with the 360. This is on original Xbox Connect. You could plug your Xbox into a computer and run this program, and it tricked your Xbox into thinking it was still on a LAN when it was actually on the internet. You could play with people all over the world, and it was pretty great.
Yep. I love how gamers and just, you know, people that like to mess with stuff just find all these different exploits.
Yeah. So Shoot. So,
But
I just realized I had that list up there for too
I was
long.
still talking about my up and comings to where I am now.
Yes,
So
that's what I was just gonna say. I was like, we got on a total sidetracked on a tangent, which is great. That's the whole point of this show. But
right.
yeah, you were talking about stuff that you played early on. So go ahead,
So
take us right on back.
Panasonic 3DO. That's where I played. What was it, Need for Speed for the first time? I think it was Need for Speed on that.
I don't know. I've never played a 3DO.
And it was basically the same Need for Speed game that they eventually released on PlayStation, which came shortly after the Panasonic 3DO, right?
So
I think
is
that's
this
how the
like
timeline.
the original first Need for Speed that came out
Yes.
was
Yeah.
on 3DO before it was on PlayStation?
I believe so. Because I think 3DO came out before PlayStation. If anyone can look into that for me, I want to say that's true, that it was before PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And I eventually got a PlayStation 1 because, dude, they had like 100 million games on that platform. You remember how many games there were for the PS1?
I'm assuming there are a lot. I've never had a PlayStation, so I don't really know a whole lot about the PlayStation ecosystem. Other than
PlayStation 1
PS2
has
is
so
still
many.
the most sold console of all time.
Yeah.
And there are a ton of games for it. But yeah, I don't really know much of the details. But I just noticed that Project Taco sub. Thank you, Project Taco. I appreciate it.
Nice, Project Taco.
Yeah. Basically, that's stuff like this is kind of like what my channel is all about, talking to people about video games. So
yeah,
it works great to put my streams on in the background and listen to people talk about video games because I don't really ever show stuff, so it's easy to listen to in the background. But thank you, and I hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, so I think I got a PS1, and then after that, I got
3DO. Putt goes to the moon for the win. The freaking putt.
The 3DO had a little bit of life to it, not very much because they ultimately failed with how much the platform costed in the first place, right?
Shot themselves in the foot. Because if just going off memory, I think I heard it was like 700 on launch, and that was like in the 90s. And like, if you were to convert that in today's dollars with inflation stuff, it's like 1,400 for a console. It's like, that's nuts.
I think it was 600, but it probably still translates to like 1,400 now.
Over 1,000. I know that. It's like, that's crazy.
I think it was $600, but I could be wrong on that.
PS3 did that as well when they launched, didn't they?
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
It was like $100 more than 360.
Yeah, PS3 didn't do very well at first because it was just so much more expensive than what was the counter? It was 360 at the time, right?
Yeah. I think most people consider 360 as like the winner of that generation. However, the PS3 did end up selling more units in the long run, but it wasn't until way late in the life cycle.
I would be willing to bet that more gaming hours were played on 360 than the PS3.
Yeah, I would probably say that as well.
I don't know how you could possibly prove what I just said, but
I would put money on it.
Yeah, me too. Because
if there was a way to find out the empirical evidence to find the exact number.
Yeah. I mean, just like everyone says, like the joke is that, oh, my Xbox 360 got the red ring, time to buy another one. And then you did that like 2 more times. You know what I mean?
Someone just meant, because I was like I mentioned, I was in Melee Games Melee Madness stream right before I started, and someone literally mentioned that like 20 minutes before we started, saying something about, yeah, but 360 had 3 red rings. I'm like, that was me. I went through 3 red rings and had to get it replaced. Fortunately, I didn't have to spend a dime on it. It just sucked not having my 360 for a couple weeks at a time. But Microsoft handled it well, and didn't charge people anything for it, and I think it helped pay off that generation.
There were definitely some people that got screwed though. I think I was one of them. Like they wouldn't warranty my Xbox, and I ended up buying another one, if I remember correctly. But
Nagranol is agreeing with us that he would bet on that more hours were spent on 360 than PS3. But yeah, Paul and Vanquish are saying PS3 won the Blu-ray, whereas 360 was the HD DVD. And that's why I wanted HD DVD to win, but I knew it wasn't going to.
Yep. I remember everyone was like, oh, it's over for Blu-ray because the porn industry adopted HD DVD.
I've heard that. I don't know anything about that, but I've heard that every time that industry adopts a new medium when there's two new formats that are competing, whatever one they adopt is the one that becomes the mainstream, like with VHS and was it Betamax,
Yeah.
DVD and Laserdisc, I think, and then HD DVD and Blu-ray. So
they just didn't account for the internet. People didn't buy physical media like that anymore. So
yeah. Heck, I think I only own like 2 Blu-rays. And
Which,
I don't think I bought either of them. They were one I was given as a gift, and the other one I won in a drawing.
one funny thing about Fry's Electronics, to go back to that, is that they actually had a DVD porn section.
I did not know that.
But
I never went to Fry's for DVDs. I only went there for computer stuff.
No, and I didn't go there for any of that either, but everybody thought it was weird, including myself, that they were selling that there. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I don't even remember ever even looking the DVD section at Fry's. I was always over in the computer parts and electronics and video games. I remember Fry's was the one and only time I played. Which one was it? It was one of the Guitar Heroes, because I played a lot of the Guitar Hero games and Rock Bands because I love the music games.
Me too.
There was it was the one that came after World Tour, because that was essentially Guitar Hero 4. Whatever the one that, because there was Guitar Hero 5 and I completed that one. That was actually pretty easy. But I think there was one that came out between World Tour and Guitar Hero 5. I forget what it was called. And they released a new guitar for it, and it had like these like touch buttons on the neck, which it was like this new thing. And that was the one and only time I ever played that guitar in that version of Guitar Hero, was at Fry's at their demo station.
Well, I thought it was interesting, but
it's gonna highlight Vanquish. He's like, yes, Alec, I remember that section.
It's just a stupid fun fact, I was gonna say Rock Band, as of recently, I think they have a new game, and it's one of those like always online deals. But I think that it's interesting, but I don't think it's going to catch on very well. But you can hook up a real guitar through a USB adapter to your PC and play it.
And are you talking about actual Rock Band? Because there's a very similar game that does use an actual guitar called Rocksmith.
Maybe I'm thinking of that, but I thought maybe they were using the Rock Band name.
Because Rocksmith that was their whole gimmick. They're like, we're taking Rock Band to the next level and actually teaching you to play a real guitar.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But I thought that was kind of cool, and I was thinking about
Vanquish mentioned Rocksmith, and Paul and I have talked about Rocksmith as well. And when I had my buddy BD Jake on for open mic for a couple times, we talked in depth about Rock Band and music games.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it looks like it is different. Yeah, but the current Rock Band,
because there was Rock Band 4, which was an Xbox One PS4 game that not a lot of people even knew came out, because it was kind of after the music game genre kind of died because it became so oversaturated.
Man, this has got to be like because it's older, but the Rock Band 4 wireless Fender Stratocaster guitar for Xbox One, $550 on Amazon.
Jeez, yeah, it's probably because it's hard. It's difficult to find, and I don't think that game even released very many copies of the software, much less the actual peripherals.
Yeah, and these aren't buttons on the whatever you call it. It's like touch sensitive,
Interesting.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun to play, but not at that price point. So
yeah. English is saying that Epic bought Rock Band. It's in Fortnite now. What are you serious?
Gosh.
I did not hear about this.
Man,
he's saying Guitar Hero. I think it was Guitar Hero.
Okay.
I remember hearing something along those lines.
They're the same game. Let's be honest, right?
I did like Rock Band better than Guitar Hero.
Me too. But they're the same game.
Mainly because my favorite instrument became the drums, and I liked the way that Rock Band handled the drums as opposed to the way Guitar Hero handled it. Because in Rock Band, once you have your star power, you have to wait till an actual like fill section to activate your star power so you can keep your beat in your rhythm. But in Guitar Hero, you can activate your star power at any time. but you have to hit both cymbals at the same time. And when you're in the middle of stuff, it throws off your rhythm. And I could never, ever, ever activate star power without breaking my streak ever.
Yeah.
Because it throws off your rhythms. And
Yep.
whereas Rock Band, I can activate my star power and keep my rhythm, but you just got to wait till that these certain sections in the song to actually activate it. But I like the way that they handled it better. And that's basically the main reason why I liked Rock Band. I ended up liking Rock Band more than Guitar Hero, even though I probably played more Guitar Hero games. I played Guitar Hero 2, 3, World Tour, Van Halen, Metallica, and I think that was it. And of Rock Band, I played 1, 2, 3, and Lego Rock Band.
So if I wanted to play like a Guitar Hero / Rock Band style game that's modern and like current, who would I go through? The Rocksmith?
If you have a real guitar already, yes.
No, like if I want to use the controller or whatever,
if you didn't have any of the equipment, yikes, you're gonna have to do some research because all of that stuff is probably gonna be pretty expensive since they don't make it anymore.
That's true. Like no one's doing that anymore.
Rock Band 4 is actually I think Rock Band 4 and Guitar Hero Live, because I think Guitar Hero Live was the last Guitar Hero before the fall of the music game fad, and that one didn't do very well. But I'm pretty sure those were the only ones that were on Xbox One, PS4. All the other ones were on PS3, 360, and they're not backwards compatible. So you have to have a PS3 or a 360 in order to play it. Which I still have my 360, so it doesn't matter to me. But
I just looked up Rock Band 4 for Xbox One. The entire bundle with the drum set and everything. Guess how much it is?
Yeah, $700.
Double that.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, because you can't find that stuff anymore. It's because they don't make it, so it's freaking expensive. I was when I had Jake on, we were talking all about music games. I had just the week before I had him on, I had pulled out my Rock Band drums or just my Rock Band at all for the first time in like over a decade. I'm like, man, it's been way too long. So I pulled out my drums and I was playing, pulled them out for about a week, and it was fun. But it was I used to play expert drums and I was really freaking good, but I haven't played it in over 10 years. So I basically had to go back to the drawing board and start from easy to relearn how to play.
Yeah.
And I was like looking into, hey, if I wanted to get a new guitar, because some of my guitars, they still work, just not great. And I was like, oh, what if I was to go get a new Guitar Hero guitar? And like, oh, that's not going to happen because these are ridiculously expensive now.
Yeah, I know. I had a great time playing those Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. I wish we had something like that right now again,
Yeah, most of my Rock Band Guitar Hero time I spent actually playing solo. Occasionally, because most of my friends that were gamers, like I was the biggest gamer out of like all my friends forever. I was like the biggest nerd. But most of them didn't play any of the music games, so I had no people that were actually good at the music games to play with. So it was better off me playing solo. So I would love to play like Rock Band with like a couple other people who are actually good at it. I actually played a couple of Rock Band actual contests.
Really?
Yeah, a couple times. But you were about to say something, so I'll let you go into that, and then I'll
oh no, it was not important. I was just gonna say, like, I went over to like friends' houses all the time, and they would be playing Rock Band, and it would be like a party where we like order pizza and drink some adult beverages and whatnot, and we'll just pass the guitar around. It was kind of fun,
For our party games, it was, I think the things that we played the most in college was Smash Bros. Brawl and Halo Reach. Those are the things that we played the most in college. Yeah, because none of my buddies were very good at the music games. But the first time I ever played Rock Band, it was, I don't even know if the game was actually out yet, but this Rock Band did like this tour around the states, and they would like stop at places, and you could come and play it. And they stopped at my college here in Sacramento, and it had like it was basically like a semi truck, almost like Optimus, where like the trailer like opened up and transformed into like it had a full setup for like 4 or 5 Rock Band bands. And so you like 20-25 people could be playing at a time. It was freaking awesome. And then a couple other times I went nearby and played in like a Guitar Hero contest, or I did okay. I remember doing a Rock Band contest, and unfortunately, because at the time, everyone was like guitar, bass, or drums, like no one wanted to sing, and like, okay, well, I guess I'll sing. So it was like the one time I ever sang in front of people was for Rock Band. But I did do drums one time, and that was fun, but I didn't do very good.
I don't think I ever did the singing part on Rock Band.
One of the things that was kind of annoying. Oh, before we get Nagrinal, say I gotta get some sleep. Good night, everyone. Good seeing you, Nagrinal. Have a good night. Sleep well. I will talk to you later, buddy. Was in, I don't remember if it was in Rock Band 2 or 3, but in one of them, the like tour mode, because there was like the campaign mode where you could play through easy, medium, hard, expert on any of the instruments, and it's the set list would change the order would change based on what instrument you're playing, because some songs may be super easy on guitar but super hard on drums or vocals or whatever, so the order changed, but all the songs were the ones that were on the disc. But then there was like the world tour mode where it would be those songs plus any additional songs you have in your DLC or imported from previous games, and you could tour the world and gain hundreds of millions of fans for your made up band. But the thing was, on the world tour mode, you could not play it with one instrument. So being that I didn't have anybody to do it with, I learned to play the guitar and sing at the same time so that I could play the world tour mode.
Because it must be hard doing both.
It was, but I got pretty good at it, especially playing through a lot of the songs, learning the lyrical part, so I didn't actually need to pay attention to that. I could sing that out of memory. It was just paying attention to the note highway to play the guitar, because there's no way in heck, even though I like drums more, there's no way in heck I could ever sing and play drums at the same time, because there's drums, with basically you need almost all your limbs to play drums. Whereas, guitar, you only need 2, so less coordination needed. So it's easier to multitask. Yeah, Paul's saying, I would have drunken Rock Band parties every Saturday night. Dude, I would have loved to have done that.
Oh, yeah. Those were the days.
Weasel saying, I can sing, but never tried a music game, just karaoke.
And I mean, that was like the same like time era as like the Wii, where you would go over and play the bowling and stuff like that with your friends. Man, yeah. That was like, dude, those were like the ultimate days for actual couch games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Wii was awesome, because I've mentioned it a couple of times on my streams, but I took it to Christmas one time, like the year it came out or whatever, and I got basically my entire family to play video games for the very first time in their entire lives.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But I mean, now that's almost what it's exclusively relegated to, is like retirement homes and stuff.
Well, I mean, I like to think that at least a certain percentage of those people that never played games before became Switch players, probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, most, a lot of those games from the Wii and Wii U era have been ported to Switch. There are still some that haven't been, that I know people are clamoring for, but a lot of them have.
Yeah. Like, what's that game that Steph plays, where you have to get the bells?
Oh, Animal Crossing?
Animal Crossing. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. I feel like the people, like the older people that got into Wii, got into Animal Crossing after
yes, that tracks. I would not bet against that. I think Animal Crossing is so dumb, but I know it's like super popular.
It looks fun. It's just like, it's a time suck that I'd rather not get into.
It was funny how there was the whole last summer, there was the whole Barbenheimer thing, because just
Mhm.
coincidentally, because Barbie and Oppenheimer came out at the same time. There was a very similar thing in 2020, I think it was, because Animal Crossing New Horizons and Doom Eternal came out like on the same day or within the same week. So it's kind of this, the opposite ends of the spectrum. You got this cutesy Animal Crossing game, and then you got, the Doom Hunter or the Doom Slayer, ripping and tearing demons' throats out and stuff. And God, I love Doom Eternal.
Well, not to derail into movies, but like, dude, in like the 80s, there were weeks where bangers came out in the same weekend.
Oh yeah.
Like I want to say like what was it uh like 86 or something like that. Like that was when like Indiana Jones came out and like Ghostbusters and like all these different movies on like the same weekend or something like that. Like, oh man, I wish that we could have stuff like that again.
Yeah, my couple of other buddies that I'm pretty tight with, JT Gunn and R2 the Icky over at After the Weekend. Their whole channel is about reviewing older movies, and they
Mhm.
talk about like the box office and stuff, and older movies and the other movies that they were up against when they were in theaters. So it's always
Yeah.
fun watching their streams. They're like, "Oh yeah, this movie and all these other movies were in theaters at the same time." It's like, that is a killer lineup of movies all in the theater at the same time. It's
Yeah.
like, man, when was the last time we had? I mean, heck, I think I went to the theater twice since the beginning of last year, maybe 3 times. It's like, there's not even one good movie often to go to, much less multiple movies in theaters at a time that you want to go see.
Yeah. My parents used to drop me off at the movie theater and they're like, go see a movie. And then I would just like I would go see an awesome movie.
Yeah,
Like now, if I were to be dropped off at the movie theater, I'd be like,
I'll go do
nah.
something else. Yeah, exactly. Like people used to, go to the theater on a Friday night. It was just a habit. They wouldn't even know what's there. They just show up and be like, "Oh, let's see that movie." And it's like, who does that anymore? Although that's one of my kind of pet peeves, and it was kind of the impetus for the downfall of that, is basically Fandango almost being required, and you have to
Oh yeah.
buy your tickets ahead of time. Otherwise, you're going to get crappy seats because you can't just go and show up, you know, at the time. You have to pick your seat. Even if you go to the, the ticket box, you still have to actually pick your seat. So what's the point of doing that when you can just do it online? You don't just like show up to a movie anymore. You buy your seats ahead of time. And I think that was part of, you know, before, the whole COVID thing, that kind of led us in that direction,
Mhm.
because that was one thing that I always hated, is like, I just want to show up and buy my ticket then, and not
Yeah.
have to pay your stupid, what I call the inconvenience fee. That's the, because I'm very frugal and cheap about things like that. It's like, you want me to pay an extra $2 for just because I'm buying online? It's like, I'll go buy my tickets at the theater when I get there. But no, then you got to worry about, if you're gonna sit in the back row or at the very front. It's like, I hated
I,
that.
I'm kind of spoiled because I actually have a good theater near me called the Roadhouse Cinema, and they got the reclining seats, and they do the dine in, and they'll serve you alcohol and all
Okay.
that.
I've done that a few times
Yeah,
where they've got the food and stuff. That's pretty cool.
and like booking your seat ahead of time is kind of nice because you're like, oh, I want to sit right here,
Yeah.
And to be honest, if you go like before 6 p.m. and get the matinee pricing, it's actually really cheap. It's like $8 to see a movie. You don't have to buy drinks or food either. So
Yeah, no, I almost never buy concessions at the theater because they're
yeah.
so crazy overpriced. When I would go to because I used to go to the movies almost every week, and I would go on Tuesday because it was $5 Tuesdays, and I would still sneak in my own snacks, and so I could do it pretty cheap. But
I have to get something though because it's a movie theater. They'll serve you food and alcohol. I
yeah,
get
if I'm going to one that serves food and stuff, I'll buy
yeah.
one of those, buy that. But if I'm not, then I'll sneak my own stuff in. But
Well,
there hasn't really been anything to entice me to go to a theater. I think the last
yeah.
thing I mentioned, the last movie that I went to on a recent stream, and I was mistaken, and I realized it a couple hours later. I'm like, shoot, I said the wrong movie. The last movie I did go to the theater to see was last summer, was for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning,
Oh yeah,
which
that was a good one.
was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't. My favorite Mission Impossible is still Fallout, the one prior.
Yes,
that
Fallout
one
is amazing.
is fantastic, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I know unfortunately it didn't do very good box office wise,
I
but I
know.
thought it was good. I just didn't think it was fantastic.
And Fallout is why Henry Cavill had to have CGI put all over his face for the
For Batman
Snyder.
v Superman.
Yep.
Yeah, because I forgot about that.
Or no, it was for the Justice League, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. I think
I
you're
think
right.
it
It
was
was
Justice
Justice League, not Batman
Yeah,
v Superman. You're right.
yeah,
Batman v Superman was way earlier than that.
yeah.
Yeah, Justice League. That makes sense.
Oh, but before I wanted to say, when I go to my movie theater, I have to
Oh
get
yeah.
a sandwich called the Cluck Norris
Yeah.
because of what it's called. It's a buffalo
That
chicken sandwich. It's really good.
that's great. I love that name. Oh yeah, Paul's making a good point. Plus, streaming made it so you don't have to leave the house because movies leave the theater and then like a week later they're on streaming.
Times are changing.
Because movies would come to the theater and then when they're out of the theater, you had to wait like 6 months before it came out on home release. So if you
Yeah.
didn't see it in theater, you're waiting, 8 months from the release of the movie till the time you can actually see it. Now it's like, I'll just wait for it to come to streaming in a couple weeks.
And
that hasn't helped them either.
I think it was Martin Scorsese was pointing out that streaming is going to ruin things, and he was kind of right.
Yeah,
because the movies they come out with for streaming aren't very good. So
yeah, and especially one of the things Netflix had basically the monopoly for so long. It's like you get everything on Netflix, so people are like, oh, why am I still subscribing to cable when I can get everything I want on Netflix? And then everyone's like, oh, let me get a piece of that pie. Now there's a billion different streaming services. And so they're all a ton of them are going to fold, and they're basically, having a cable package is now almost better than paying for all these different streaming services that you use once and then forget about, and you're like a gym membership you forgot about, and you're paying for it and not using it.
Pretty much.
But Weasel saying I missed the arcades. That was the spot back when I was in high school. I mean, arcades were around, but it was never really my thing. I think arcades were the peak of arcades was slightly before my time.
I definitely went to arcades a lot, but I mean, like, as far as like my golden years of
Paul
gaming would probably be when like Battlefield 2 came out. When Battlefield 2 came out, I had just built my first PC, so I worked at Circuit City at the time. I don't know if you remember that place.
Oh yeah.
So
I was going to mention Circuit City earlier when we were talking about Fry's and Best Buy.
Yeah.
I had a Circuit City that was across the street from Best Buy, or kitty corner to Best Buy, and Circuit City went out of business years ago, and that Best Buy is still there.
The Circuit City that I worked at, we also had a Best Buy in the same mall, like the strip mall, basically. But one of my coworkers was like, "Oh yeah, I built a PC before." I'm like, "Oh shit, teach me how," And I forgot. I think I bought all the parts from. Dang, I can't remember. I think it was
because this PC right here, the first one I built that from Fry's.
Okay. No, I bought all my stuff off the internet, actually.
Well, that's what I did with the one I have now.
Gotcha.
That first one I did. That was I remember that day going to Fry's. I'd saved up for it because I couldn't even drive yet, so my mom had to take me. I was so excited to go pick out the parts and come home and build it. And I think after I put it together within like an hour of bringing it home, but it took me maybe like a month to get it actually up and running. I had so many problems in figuring out all this stuff. I was like 14 or something at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. Weasel
hit me where it hurt.
Weasel. ABF just giving away his and my age. Nobody said anything about your age, Weasel.
So I worked at Circuit City right out of high school.
Okay.
And we what did I do? I sold cell phones. And I didn't even think that was like going to be a crazy job or anything, but it turns out back then people just couldn't just activate their own cell phones, and you had to do it for them. Do you remember those days?
Like they couldn't figure it out, or they literally had to have you do it. What? No, I don't
like
remember
the
that.
Motorola StarTAC is what I used to sell all the time.
Interesting.
I don't know if you
I
remember
don't
that one.
remember that.
But I made $50 per activation, and that was
Nice.
big money when I came out of high school. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of money. And
Circuit City. I was there, Gandalf, 3,000 years ago. It was 3,000, not 1,000. Although I don't know if you were quoting Lord of the Rings, but if you were, it was 3,000 years ago.
But no, my coworker showed me how to build a computer, and I built a AM2 platform. Yeah, it was a AMD Athlon processor.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the actual like megahertz speeds on it. I want to say it was like
Yeah. I don't know. The only thing I remember in this one, I could
1.2.
tear it apart and I could find out. The only thing I remember in it is that I got a ATI Radeon GPU, and it was the top of the line one that existed at the time, and it was like 128 megabyte, I think, GPU.
On the VRAM.
Yeah.
128 megabytes. So now they're saying that video cards, if you're getting 8 gigabytes, which is a
That's
lot more
kind
than
of middle of the road. Like mine, I think, is only 6.
well, though they're saying that 8 might not cut it for like Unreal Engine 5 like future
Oh,
games.
that makes
So
sense, because like the
yeah.
top tier, like 4090s, are like 24 gigs of VRAM. It's like, geez, what?
Well, like
Like
the
I was
4080 and the 4070 are like 16, so that's like acceptable.
I'm pretty sure mine is only 6, and like it does great for what I want it to do. It's like, what? I think mine was like 400 or something, and like these 4090s are literally like the more than 2 PCs without a GPU. They're like 3 or 4 grand or something crazy for. I could be getting it wrong. I haven't looked at GPU prices in a while, but it's insane
The
how expensive they are. It's like, what is it that they do so much better that would justify that kind of cost? I can't see
well,
it being that big of a jump.
a 4090 is like $2,500. I want to say.
Jeez, that is
Yeah.
nuts. That's double the price of my entire build.
No. I'm
Basically.
sorry. Hold on. I think it's like $1,600. I'm thinking about it. But
Okay,
the
that's
4080,
still a little bit more than my entire build.
yeah, no, the 4080 is like almost keeps up with it, right? And it's like
Okay.
$1,000.
Oh,
So whenever I have a 4080 in my build because I couldn't justify paying that much for a 4090 because the
yeah.
4090 is basically if you want to like bump every single thing up in your game and play it like 4K, you know.
Yeah, like I only have a 3050, and it does great for what I want it to do. And I mean, my monitor is only 2K, so I couldn't even do 4K if I wanted. But I got this.
They're like $2,000 actually, the 4090.
Oh, yeah, that's nuts.
It's way too much money. Way
Yeah.
too much for a
I
video
was
card.
thinking about, because I've only had this GPU for like a year, not even. Oh, I mean, I've had it longer than that because I actually had my parts for a while before I actually built the computer. But like I said, I only assembled it in September, and I haven't even been using it for a year yet. Although, God, that September does not seem like it's been more than a few months ago, and that was already like 9 months ago. Jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've got a RTX 3050, and it's been doing great. But I was like, I consider upgrading it, and it's like, what exactly would I be upgrading for? Because I've only got a 2K monitor, so 4K doesn't really help, and I think my monitor is 144 hertz, so I could get a little bit more frame rate. But like, you can tell the difference between like 30 and 60 frames. Can you really tell the difference between like 60 and 140 frames? I'm not sure I can tell the difference.
You can, and it comes with many hours of gaming to where you become that sensitive to it, though. So,
and I don't know if my frame counter is working correctly because I literally never see it go over 60, even though I've got my games turned up to like give me the max speed. Like
that means
I'll take frame rate over resolution any day of the week. So it's like, give me the max frame rate I can get, and I never see it go over 60.
If it's locked at 60, either the game is capping it or your monitor is capping it.
Okay.
If it just says solid 60 all the time, something is preventing it from going over. So
And then sometimes it'll be on a loading screen. It'll be like 12,000 frames per second. It's like,
Yeah.
what? And then
That
and then
sounds like
it'll
it's
get
the game limiting you then.
okay. That could
Because
be.
yeah, sometimes the menus are unrestricted as far as frames, and it looks like a ridiculous amount.
That makes sense.
So.
Okay. But yeah, I don't do a huge amount of gaming on my computer. Although since I've got, like I said, I've got a gaming quality PC now, I have been doing a lot more. But I still wouldn't say it's my primary gaming location, since I much prefer console gaming because I like sitting in front of my 75-inch TV with my legs up on my comfy couch to game, rather than sitting at a desk in a chair on a much smaller monitor. But yeah, everything that I've been throwing at my little measly 3050 runs everything at a good frame rate and a good resolution. So it's like,
Mhm.
what exactly would upgrading it really do for me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I remember is getting into games like Battlefield 3 and 4. They were just more demanding on my PC, and it caused me to like get a new video card, and then like I still wasn't happy with the amount of frames I was getting, so I had to get a new CPU at the time. And then years later, little game called PUBG came out, Player Unknown Battleground. I don't know if you remember that one.
I never played it, but I know of it.
Yeah,
I've
that
never
game actually
done
turned
the.
your computer into a nuclear power plant when it was running. So
Yeah, I've never really done any of the battle royale games. I played Call of Duty Warzone for like a weekend with some friends, and that was about it. So never done
Warzone runs
Fortnite.
relatively cool on your computer.
I mean, and the little bit that I played was on Xbox, so it wasn't
Mhm.
my PC because that was before I had a gaming PC. But it's
Yeah.
funny talking about a game that basically caused you to upgrade your PC specifically for that game.
Yeah.
Paul was telling me what I think it was Paul was telling me about a game that, or maybe it was Jake. One of the two is on one of the times they were on telling me like, oh yeah, I upgraded my entire PC setup for like this one game. It's always funny to hear PC gamers like, what was that game for you that you're like, I'm gonna spend $1,500 and upgrade my PC for this one game.
And that's interesting because the last time I can remember people wanting and needing to upgrade their PC for was Cyberpunk.
Okay. Yeah.
Can anyone name a game that came after Cyberpunk that people were scrambling to upgrade their computer for?
Yeah, because that was really the only acceptable way to play the game at launch was on a beefy computer, because that game should not have launched on Xbox One and PS4 because those could not handle it.
They're basically just a cut down PC is all they are. So
yeah.
Like,
But
in case
yeah,
anyone doesn't know, that's how consoles work, is that they get the silicon that didn't quite make it as a PC. So they get sold to Xbox and PlayStation to turn into consoles. They're just less powerful PCs.
Oh yeah, I did know. Oh, I obviously knew that they're just less powerful PCs, but the silicon part, I had never heard that before.
Yeah, so you get a silicon wafer and you chop it up and you can make a bunch of stuff out of it, including processors and stuff like that. And the ones that are the the special ones, I guess we'll call them. They get thrown down to the lesser hardware. So
I did not know that.
and a lot of those ones actually get thrown down to like cars and motorcycles and stuff like that. So
Oh, that makes sense. Since they don't usually have very demanding needs for processing power for their software.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Bank was saying that first it was Half-Life 2, then Crysis, then Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Oh man, Crysis definitely was demanding.
No,
It still
that
is.
was the meme. I got a point for that because on my co-host on Top 5, Jason, tons of fun. He did a game show recently. It was the Jeopardy style, and one of them was about video game memes. And I got a point because it was, I don't remember what the question was, but the answer was, "What is Can It Run Crysis?"
Do you remember? There was an NVIDIA press release or convention where they're releasing like their latest and greatest video cards, And Jensen Wang, the CEO, was like, it could even. He's like holding up the latest card, is like the 90 card, right? And he's
Okay.
like, it could even run Crisis, and like nobody laughed. And he was like, I'm a gamer, so I get that joke.
Yeah. Oh, because probably at a convention with a bunch of suits that don't know anything about this type of stuff.
And everyone's like, yeah, sure, buddy. Oh man.
Banks was saying he hated the timing. He bought the 4070 Ti 2 months before the 4070 Ti Super came out, but he's still very happy with it, so that's good.
Yeah, it was only a tiny bit better.
Yeah, Vanquish. We need to. I played it for the first time this last Sunday with the company boys, but one of the things that I had been considering for a number of years for getting a PS5 for was Ghost of Tsushima, but I was like, it's got to come to PC eventually, and I knew I was going to be building a gaming PC at some point, and I finally have one now, and they're like, yeah, it's coming to PC. I'm like, yes, I can finally get it without having to get a PlayStation for it. And we've been talking about that, for basically since I started my channel, that because he's a huge fan of Ghost of Tsushima. So once it got announced it's coming to PC, he's like, yeah, I think we both messaged each other that day on Twitter, be like, yeah, but we haven't played with each other yet. I played the multiplayer. That's where I was going with that, is the multiplayer for the first time this last weekend. And it was it was a lot of fun. So Vanquish, nice. We got to play the multiplayer now that I have it.
Yeah, I never got into that game. Yeah, Weasel says VR games need the upgrade. That actually
makes sense.
That actually did get people to upgrade their computers for a while, but then people realized that like VR kind of didn't go anywhere. Yeah, that was the issue.
VR has so much potential, but it's just until you can, I don't know, because you have to have such powerful equipment. It's so expensive. You have to have the room for it as well.
There's a game on my wish list. I can't remember the name for the life of me, but it makes me want to get a VR headset because
there's so much cool stuff in VR. But yeah,
so I think you're like a Russian in this game, right? And you're like in this like wasteland. You go and you're like scavenging for stuff. But there was one part of the trailer of the game that made me want to get it so bad. The dude's smoking a cigarette. Like you can smoke a cigarette as you're gunsmithing and like putting your gun together on this like workbench. And I'm like, oh man, that looks so fun to roleplay smoking cigarettes again and putting guns together.
That's great. Oh, that's another thing that is another big issue for VR games for a lot of people is the motion sickness.
Yes, I never had that problem. I've tried it before and it didn't bother me. So
I've played VR for like 20 minutes when basically my nephew it's complicated to get into the family tree but I consider him my nephew, and he got one for like Christmas. And if I ever did get into VR gaming, like the number one thing I would get into would be Beat Saber. God, I played the demo of Beat Saber and I freaking loved it.
I found the game.
That's the only VR I played I played the Beat Saber demo for like 10 minutes or something. What game was it?
It's called Convergence.
Convergence. I've never heard of it.
Should I share my screen? I can play it.
Yeah, if you want to.
Sure. Let's see here. I've never done it on this one before.
Yeah, you share it and then it'll pop up here and then I can turn it on.
There we go. Let's see. I'll just play it at half sound.
Doggy!
Look at this guy just smoking a cigarette and like cleaning up his Makarov. Dragunov. That's a PPSH. I saw it looked kind of fun. I think that gun games are probably
Oh, what the heck?
going to be the more fun.
Oh, there we go. Much better. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Vanquish. I was like, that looks like a VR version of the Metro games.
Kind of, yeah. In fact, that's probably what they had in the back of their minds when they were making it.
But yeah, that was pretty cool. He's saying that the only VR game I want to play is Half-Life Alyx. I've heard that is a fantastic VR game, and it's one of the few games that does VR like correctly.
It's probably the pinnacle of VR gaming.
Oh, Super Hot. I've never played it, but that seems like that would be a pretty cool game in VR. Do you know about Super Hot?
Yes, but also I wanted to add PSVR announced that they are going to be adding a module so you can use it on your PC soon.
I saw a headline about that this week.
Yeah,
because
which only makes sense, to be honest.
They should. I mean, talk about another whole shooting yourself in the foot. PSVR, and it can't play PSVR or PSVR 2 game can't play PSVR 1 games. It's like, how stupid is that?
Wait, for real?
Yeah, it's not backwards compatible. You can't play PSVR 1 games on a PSVR 2.
That
if you want to play PSVR 1 and PSVR 2 games, you have to have both headsets.
Dang. That means that they didn't engineer it to be scalable.
Yeah, that's such a freaking disappointment. And was there even anything? I mean, the technology behind PSVR 2 is probably awesome, but did they? It's still to this day, because it's probably been out like a year now. Is there still any software for it that's worth playing?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I want to say that the people that I talked to that have used it said it was really fun. But yeah, I mean, it might have been one of those things where it's like, yeah, fun for like 30 minutes or whatever, you know?
Yeah, a lot of the VR games seem like gimmick games. It's like, where's like a good, well put together VR game? That's what I hear. That is Half-Life Alyx.
I had a HTC Vive for a while, and I do remember playing like a game in it for like 3+ hours. But like in my opinion, that works very well in the wintertime when it's nice and cold in your house. But when it's hot in your house,
because
your face has even a tiny little bit of sweat on it, because the headset's giving off heat, by the way, to your face. It fogs up the dang lenses and you can't see anything. So you have to stop every like 10 minutes and wipe them off and then go again. And then they just do the same thing. So
yeah, that would be annoying. If I did have a VR, I don't think I would have the motion sickness thing either, because I've never been motion sickness, car sick, seasick. I've never had any of that in my life. So I don't think I would have the motion sickness thing. Probably
be fine.
I'd probably be fine. Probably the thing would just be, having on your face long period of time and just, from being there, creating the indents on your face and just getting uncomfortable from length of time being there would probably be my guess.
Yeah. And I mean, they'll get lighter and better over time. I mean, maybe some of the sickness comes from the tiny bit of latency that doesn't bother us, but maybe bothers other people.
Yeah, that could be.
Because there's always going to be a delay between the computer and what you see. So
yeah, I remember seeing a video one time of, I think it was like, I looked it up again. I couldn't find it, but it was basically experiencing lag in real life. And so they had a headset on, but it just fed what the cameras see, fed it through. So you weren't having like a computer process it. It's just, it wasn't feeding it to you in real time. It was delayed. So it was pretty funny seeing people just trying to do some of those basic tasks with like a slight lag delay, like you would experience in video games. It was pretty funny.
There was a guy that did I
think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. Okay. And he wore a headset for like a week with only the pass-through mode. Yeah. Okay. So
I'm curious. I've not heard about this.
So he wore he wore a VR headset for a week straight with just the pass-through mode, to where he could like see, his apartment and everything. And like, yeah, he basically said he doesn't recommend it.
Was there like a delay, or was the frame rate pretty good?
I think so, because it was just doing a pass-through. It wasn't trying to render a game or anything. So I think that there's going to be less lag or less latency with that. But
okay. But yeah, Weasel saying, I love to watch AVF play Don't Scream in VR. Are you familiar with Don't Scream?
No, what is that?
So if it's the game I'm thinking of, because I've never seen it, but I've heard about a game which I'm pretty sure is called Don't Scream. It's a jump scare horror game.
Oh man.
It uses the microphone to detect when you scream, and if you scream, it starts the game over again.
No. Oh
I'm
my gosh.
That's what the game is.
It's funny because when I had my HTC Vive, I was in my living room playing it because that's the best place for open area, right? And
Yeah.
I was playing a scary game. I can't remember what it was, but I just remember like, dude, when you're in VR and there's jump scare stuff, it actually makes you scream. In real life.
Yeah.
So
Like, I'm not into horror games, but if there was one game in VR I would never, ever, ever play, it would be Alien Isolation. That game would be
ooh,
horrifying in VR.
no, thank you. I'm not actually a big fan of horror movies in general.
Yeah, me neither.
Probably my favorite horror movie would be Event Horizon because it's sci-fi and I like that kind of stuff, even though it's
It's
terrifying.
it's hilarious that you mentioned that because Paul, so next week, he's doing another episode of his book club, and we're doing movies. And we're literally DMing earlier tonight, and he's trying to figure out what movie he's going to pick for book club. And so we're all going to watch it and then discuss each movie that the panelists pick. And the movie I picked was Upgrade. Are you familiar with Upgrade?
Upgrade. That was like someone gets like modified or whatever in that movie, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
freaking love this movie, and it was
It's like
like
Jason
not a lot.
Statham in it?
No, not a lot of people know about this movie. It has discount Tom Hardy in it. The actor's name is Logan Marshall Green. He looks just like Tom Hardy, but it's like the dollar store version of Tom Hardy. But basically, he gets in the self-driving car gets in an accident and in the wrong part of town, and
I
like
remember this movie.
his
Yep.
spine gets severed or something, so he's a quadriplegic, and his wife gets murdered. This is all like in the very first scene, so it's not really spoiling anything. And so it's basically he gets Elon's thing, Neuralink. He
Right.
basically gets Neuralink so that he can still use his body, but it's run by an AI, but no one knows that he has it. And so
Yeah.
he's basically quadriplegic, but he has this AI running his body, and it's freaking awesome. And I want more people to see it. So that's why I picked it for book club. But since I was the first person to pick a movie, he's like, all right, well, we'll just run with that and use that as kind of the theme for sci-fi thrillers. And literally earlier tonight, he's like, I'm thinking I might pick Event Horizon. I was like, I was afraid you were going to say that because I'm not big on horror movies. He's like, but everyone says it's great. I'm like, yeah, the people who like horror movies think it's great.
No,
I'm not a big fan of horror movies, so
I don't like
didn't
horror
care
movies,
for it.
but I like that one.
But I did see it way back, and I didn't know exactly what I was getting into. And I'm like, wow, this movie went in a way weird direction I was not expecting. So if he picks it, I'll watch it again. It's just I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but I will watch it again if he picks it for his movie.
Are you into Warhammer at all?
I know nothing about Warhammer except for what I've learned from having people on my channel who talk about it.
I don't know a lot either, but like I've watched like a couple of like, what is it? I can't remember this YouTube channel, but he does like these like short clips of Warhammer stuff. And it just like goes into the lore of the different factions. And every once in a while they'll just talk about like lore about the world, right? And one of the things about the world is that the FTL, faster than light travel for the spaceships, it basically goes into like this demonic place. And then comes back out, where you're supposed to be.
That's kind of how slipstream space works in Halo, just without the demons.
Okay. And like there's even like a story in Warhammer where a ship was stuck inside of this demonic world for like 10 years. And like only one person didn't go insane. But that's I don't know. Basically, I think that Event Horizon is lore of Warhammer, basically of the spaceship, because it went to that demonic place and then emerged again into the real world. So
What we didn't know is Event Horizon. What it came out in like the 90s, I think.
Yeah,
It was like a backdoor pilot for a future Warhammer movie that never happened.
exactly. It had to have been a Warhammer fan that wrote for that movie.
So that's funny. Speaking of the devil, we were just talking about my buddy Jason Tongate, who's my co-host on Top Five. I was just mentioning shovelware a little while ago. Good to see you, Jason. I don't know what he was saying. Nope, none to though. That was a little too far back in the stream. So sorry, I don't remember what you were referring to. And who I've mentioned multiple times on the stream, BD Jake, my good buddy BD Jake. What's up? Good to see you, man. I've mentioned you multiple times because we were talking about Rock Band earlier, and I was telling ABF about when we were talking about Rock Band and Just Cause and other stuff like that. So he's awesome. Go. I don't think he's got his own channel yet, but he's on all sorts of other people's channels, and he is a great dude to talk to.
He's on my channel.
Yeah, on off the hip.
Yep.
Yeah. Jake is awesome. Thanks. I really want to play Event. Oh, I thought Event Horizon VR game. I didn't know there was one. Horizon VR game. I heard that it looks nice, but you spend most of the game in VR, first person, climbing walls. So you're just like looking at high resolution walls in first person. That's what I heard.
Sounds like fun.
So, yeah. Let's see.
You mentioned Just Cause. Didn't I just read recently that their studio went under?
No. And Vegas saying Event Horizon, my all-time favorite horror movie. Nice. Love that movie. Because the developer was Avalanche.
Yeah.
And they are also the studio they're working on Contraband, which was announced a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And we still don't know like anything about that game.
Isn't there already like a different Contraband game out?
Not that I know of. From what I've heard from people who have seen it behind closed doors, it's kind of like Just Cause without the on foot stuff. It's basically all in cars, or maybe even more so like Mercenaries. Sounds like it could be fun, but I haven't seen anything about it. Except for its original announcement a couple of years ago. But I have heard Avalanche mentioned a few times lately, but I don't think it was in relation to getting shut down. I think it's because I've been hearing Contraband getting a little bit more spotlight because it's getting closer to release.
Yeah. Okay, so this game, this does look interesting. Okay. Huh.
Paul saying Static told me to watch Event Horizon, so I'm assuming he's picking Event Horizon.
Yeah.
I don't really want to watch it again, but I will.
Event Horizon, like there's like a couple of cheesy parts, but it's a pretty good movie for being how old it is.
Oh, May was saying I would love to play Alien Isolation in VR. That makes one of you. No, I would not do that. You have to pay me to do that. I played Alien Isolation for like 5 minutes one time on my Xbox, not in VR, because it was for a Game Pass quest, so I could get rewards points. And just those 5 minutes hiding in the corner, hoping the alien didn't find me, was terrifying. Not my kind of game.
Maybe it'd be like a good like workout routine or something to be in like fight or flight mode constantly, because that's what VR and Alien Isolation would do to you, right?
That game seems like it would be like the type of stressful that would take years off your life.
Possibly.
Vegas is letting us know that Upgrade is on Netflix and he's been meaning to watch it. Watch it. It's not a long movie. I think it's only about an hour and a half, and it's awesome. I love this movie.
I think I need to rewatch it now.
It's great.
Because I do remember watching it and being kind of.
Oh, Jason was saying that nope on the PSVR 2 is not backwards compatible with the PSVR 1 software, which is what I was pretty sure. Oh, that's right. Thank you, Vanquish, for reminding me. They also did the Mad Max game from a few years ago, which I have not played it yet.
Me too.
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I own it on Steam and I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to that because I've heard nothing but good things about it. Yeah. Oh, Paul's saying no, he's not picking Event Horizon. Okay, that unless he's just doing that to psych me out, and he's later.
What a
wussy!
Event Horizon. What a wussy!
And Real Wade Nation is here. What's up, Real Wade Nation? Good evening. I think. Oh, okay. He's saying he thinks him and Gabs are gonna pick Moon and Mute, which were the movies that he mentioned the other day. And he's like, wait a minute, those might change. So I have seen Moon before, long time ago. I saw it. I think I fell asleep because we were over at a friend's house and I was really tired, so I never actually saw the entirety of it. So I am looking forward to watching that again because I liked the concept of the movie. If that's getting picked, I am looking forward to watching that one again. But he's gonna let me know for sure.
Moon was a cool one because it's like one of those like movies that's kind of based off of like real life a tiny bit, you know, because Helium-3 is a thing that exists on the moon.
Yes.
It exists on Earth too, but apparently our atmosphere like mostly thwarts it from existing here.
Yeah, something about the fact that the moon doesn't have an atmosphere preserves it. So it's worth a lot if you were able to mine it.
Well, yeah, the reason why it's worth a lot is because you can use it as a fuel source for fusion. So
that makes sense.
I don't think it's cold fusion, but I think it's just like an efficient form of fusion that you can use it to run. So
okay, that would be worth a lot then, yeah. And then the other movie you mentioned, Mute, I've never even heard of, so I don't know anything about
me
that.
either. I've never heard of it.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about Upgrade and getting more people to watch it because it's an awesome movie, underrated gem in my opinion. So, all right. Well, we are already over 2 hours, man. Time always flies by. Not that we have to stop. It's just kind of typically that's kind of what I do is about 2 hours, unless the conversation is just going so well, like it was with Jake, and we went on for nearly 6 hours. And then we came back for another 3.5 hours a couple weeks ago, and we're still going to do another one because we got more stuff to talk about.
Nice.
So, do you want to wrap it there? Do you got more stuff you want to talk about? Because I mean, we could definitely go on if you want to.
No, I could bring up a few more things if you want to keep going.
Sure. Yeah. Welcome to. I mean, we're still basically on Super Nintendo for your growing up. And the Super Scope.
Well, I mean, I can I can quickly brush over it. For that, Super Nintendo, and then I think I had PS1 and then Xbox and then PS2. And then I got 360 after that.
Okay.
Right? Was there anything after PS2 that I'm forgetting?
I don't know what you had.
No, like what was there between PS2 and 360? Anything at all? I don't think there was.
Well, no, because 360 was the generation. 360 PS3 was the generation after PS2.
Yeah.
And original Xbox.
Yeah.
And GameCube and Dreamcast.
And I never owned a PS3. I don't think I've only played with it over at friends' houses once in a while, and then I think I owned a PS4. And then, yeah, pretty much PC stuff after that. I was pretty much just into PC.
Elbow's finger wants to keep going. I would not stop. He don't miss.
Make sure to tune into the Baldwins. It's coming out next year.
Oh.
Reality TV show based on the Baldwins.
No, is it really?
Yeah, I'm not joking.
I thought we were joking at first. Although I did hear that, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that filming on Rust resumed.
Yes.
And that movie is actually going to come out.
So, I don't know how much you want to go into it, but Alec Baldwin fired a gun, killed the cinematographer, and hit the producer.
Hutchins.
Right. The producer was the husband of the cinematographer, right?
Yeah, that sounds
and
something along those lines.
He came to some sort of agreement to continue filming it with the producer, the husband.
Interesting.
Which is it seems sick, doesn't it?
Yeah, Vanquish is like, Rust is still gonna happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that movie was dead.
I'm gonna buy a ticket to
intended.
it.
I mean, it's your advent to the internet, essentially.
I pretty much have to do the research on that one. So
yes, it's if anyone has to go see it, it's you.
No, but recently I've been playing Diablo 4 again. Is that weird?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I never got into the Diablo games. I'm sure I would have liked them if I had. I just never got around to it.
I played Diablo 2 back in the day, and it still scratches that itch when I play the new one. So,
which Diablo is your favorite?
Diablo 2 for sure. Those were somewhat those were like the best days for Diablo.
I think that's from what I've gathered from the hardcore Diablo people. I think most people still consider Diablo 2 to be the best one. Does that seem accurate?
I think so, yeah. And like I remember like the Stone of Jordan was like the currency in the game, which was an item. It was a ring, you know. And there wasn't an actual trade system in the game, and you had to trust people to drop it on the ground and back up and then exchange stuff.
Vanquish. Dude, I've been playing Diablo 2 as well.
No way.
So,
Well, you've been playing Diablo 4, right? Vanquish?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know which Diablo he's talking about. So
I think he's talking about 4.
If he's last update, he's probably talking about Diablo 4 then.
Yeah, so the last update made this this season, because it's like a seasonal thing, much better. So
okay, yep,
yeah,
D4 Diablo 4. So cool.
Yeah, that's just I don't know. It's kind of fun. I started out making a sorcerer, realized that she wasn't very powerful, and then I decided to make a necromancer because that's the current meta. And I still haven't gotten into World Tier 4 yet, so pretty close though.
Okay, yeah, you're all speaking another language to me.
Yeah, well, so basically, you make a character and you start out in World Tier 1 or 2. Most people choose 2 just because it's higher experience.
Okay,
and you work your way up to fighting the boss to get to the next world tier, which each world tier is basically like New Game Plus. You know?
Okay,
I mean?
Gotcha.
Just a harder difficulty where you get more XP and stuff like that. So
and better loot.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
And then Shaka Zulu had me playing World of Warships the other day.
Okay. I've never played any of those World of games.
Oh, dude, the World of Tanks. I tried to get into it. It's tough. You have to be like an actual like military tank nerd to be really into that one. So
I see Horny Alf plays those pretty often as well.
Yeah, and he's actually invited me to his group to play with him. I just haven't had any time to play World of Warships with him, but it's a fun game. And it's free too. So
yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure those games are free.
World of Warships is better than Tanks for sure.
Pause. Alpha's trying to get me into Warships too.
Do it.
And Vanquish, like you could not get me into those games. But yeah, Horny Alf is I don't think he's as big of a fan as I am of Subnautica, but he's done a number of Subnautica streams. And anytime he does, I'm there in those Subnautica streams. But he hasn't done one in a while.
You know, I think Subnautica would be so much more popular if it was co-op.
Yeah, a lot of people. It kind of changes the essence of what the game is, but it would be fun to be able to play that game in co-op. But I freaking love that game.
It probably would change it drastically, and maybe you have to balance it by like changing, certain things.
Yeah, I think people have modded in a co-op mode. I think I heard that just because that's been a popular request, but they haven't done that.
I remember hearing something about that, and I want to say that it was like very unstable though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard that's kind of what I gathered as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, since I love Subnautica so much, I haven't actually talked about Subnautica much in a while, but there was a while I literally mentioned Subnautica on every single stream, and it like literally every time I mentioned Subnautica, like Paul would be there. And he'd be like, "Oh, look at that! Neo's talking about Subnautica again." And he wouldn't be there the entire stream. And then, like an hour and a half in the stream, I'll mention Subnautica once, and Paul pops up. He's like, "Oh yeah, there he is talking about Subnautica again."
He's like listening to your stream in the car and has to pull over so he can like chat you.
Or there was a couple times where I was in Horny Al Subnautica stream. And like he pinged me like on Discord, be like, "Hey, Horny Alpha's playing Subnautica." I'm like, "I know, I'm already in the chat."
Yeah.
So, oh yes, Vanquish was like, "I bought Subnautica because of Neo." Yeah. Have you played it yet? I'm curious. I haven't heard you talk about it, Vanquish. So let me know if you played it yet.
How many like expansions or DLCs have there been for it?
Neo loves Subnautica. Yes, I do. Subnautica. There's mods, but as for like expansions, there was the first game, and then the second game was originally planned as a DLC, but they just spun it off into its own game, and that's called Subnautica Below Zero.
Oh, that's not even part of it? It's a separate game?
Yeah, it's a separate standalone thing. You don't need the original to play it.
Interesting.
And they are working.
Like that one?
it's enjoyable. I like it. It's more of what the first one is, but it just doesn't quite live up to the original. So a lot of people say that it sucks. I think it's a perfectly fine, acceptable game. It's not as good as the first one. So if I had to pick between the two, I'd pick the first one. Although it does have a couple of quality of life items in it that are not in the original one. But one of the cool things was that they did add some new updates to that game, because obviously it came out later, that people who played the first one, like, it'd be really nice if we had this, and they added that into the sequel in Below Zero. And then they actually, I don't know if it was the last update, but I think the last big update they did for the first Subnautica, they actually backported a lot of those things into the first Subnautica game, which was pretty cool. That's still cool. Some things that are still only exist in Below Zero that don't exist in the first one, but they added a bunch of the quality of life stuff from Below Zero back to the original game. So
that's cool.
But yeah, if I was to pick one, it'd be the first one, and that's why I played that one like 8 or 9 times. I've only played the sequel probably like 3 or 4 times. It is much smaller of a game world, but if you like the first one, you'll probably like the second one. They're great, and they are working on a third one, so I can't wait to see more about that. Basically, that's all we know is that they're working on it. We don't know anything about it yet.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to theme that one. Maybe space?
Well, it's not from the same developer or anything, but if you like Subnautica, there literally is Subnautica in space. It's the exact same gameplay loop, and that's called Breathedge.
Oh, yeah. Do you watch a channel called Neves Gaming?
I've not heard of that one.
So that's a single player game, right?
Yes.
Neves Gaming has a way of they used to do voiceovers for like animation a lot. So what they do is they take a single player game and they have other people in the room with them voice other characters in the game. So he had Neves had I forget his name, Duralius, basically voice this dead guy in the game. So they turned a single player game into like this like a
machinima.
Sort of, yeah. Like they actually used to work for Machinima.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they turned a single player game into like a narrative game with multiple people. It was really, really funny. I recommend checking out some of their content.
You'll have to send me the link, and I'll put it in the stream description. So if anyone watches this back later, can go check that out. But I definitely want to check that out. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, they started out making Battlefield Friends videos. Did you ever watch Battlefield Friends?
That one. I've never heard of that.
Oh man, they would animate funny stuff in Battlefield 3 and 4. I think it started with Battlefield 3, and like they would make fun of like the medic, for instance, because the medics were always retarded in Battlefield. They didn't know that you were supposed to like charge up the paddles to to bring someone back to life, because if you just hit them with the paddles, they only have 1 health. But yeah, those were just total classics.
Okay. I don't remember what it was called, but I do remember there was only like 4 or 5 episodes, but I think I saw it on machinima.com way back in the day, and it was a machinima of basically 2 of the alien cops from Half-Life 2, like the ones that you see in the train station at the beginning of the game. One of them takes his baton and knocks the can off the garbage can. You have to pick it up. It was just 2 of those type of cops, and they're just like doing like their everyday patrols around City 17, and it was freaking hilarious. Like there was this one where the funniest one was one guy was trying to convince the other guy to jump off the bridge onto a moving train. He's like, dude, it's just like in the movies. It's like, there's no way I'm gonna jump off onto a moving train. And he finally does it, but then right when he does, the train finishes going under the bridge, so he falls all the way to the ground. I don't remember what it was called, but it was pretty hilarious. But yeah, man, Red versus Blue is the king of those. I love Red versus Blue.
One of their funnier videos to me, anyways, was on the Neeps Gaming channel. Was when they made a animation of a guy just waking up in the game Ark Survival, right?
Okay.
Because that's how you start out in the game. You just wake up on the beach and you look at your arm and you're like, oh, what's this thing, and then all of a sudden you just get killed by a dinosaur. Because that's exactly the experience. It's so funny. You just die instantly.
So all right, yeah. So if anyone is watching this back, I will have the link to this this channel in the description if you want to go check that out, because I'm definitely going to do that. But yeah, Paul's saying Neil will show up for your stream if you play Subnautica. He's not wrong. If I see you playing Subnautica, I will find you. I have a very particular set of skills. I will find you and I will watch you play Subnautica, and I will help give you hints. And I've said if anyone ever hasn't played it and wants to get into it, I would be happy if whether they want to stream it or not. I'll sit in on a call with you and watch you play it. I'll kind of coach you through it if you want. I just love Subnautica and I want to see other people play it and love it as much as I do.
Yeah, I don't know if I beat that game or not. I think I did, but I remember building the giant submarine, right?
Okay,
that was
Cyclops.
Yeah, that was one of your tasks to build that thing, right?
Yeah,
I remember building that, and I was able to jump up and down out of the ocean like a dolphin with it and stuff like that. Right?
Okay, because the Cyclops is the one that looks like an actual submarine. It's large and it's very slow, so you can't really jump. There's the Seamoth, which is the little personal sub, and that thing is fast, and you could jump way high out of the water.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of then. Yeah.
Okay, because you get the Seamoth pretty early on. Mm-hmm. The Cyclops is much later in the game because you have to scan 9 separate things in order to get all the blueprints before you can even find out what you need to build it. Then you got to go find those ingredients to build it. And then you have to upgrade it so that you can go down super deep so you can get to the end game.
Okay. I don't know if I ever upgraded it, but I remember fully building the Cyclops, but I never I think I stopped right after that.
Okay.
So I don't know if I actually beat the game.
Cyclops is kind of mid to late game, but yeah. Okay. Subnautica is one of those games where the first time I beat it, it took me about 60 hours. And I remember because you basically the end goal is you have to build this rocket and then you can use it to get off the planet because you're basically stranded there.
Right.
And I remember getting finally building the rocket. I'm like, I'm not sure if I actually want to leave because I'm enjoying this game so much. But obviously, finish the game. I'm like, now I'm sad because I love the game so much. And I didn't want it to be over, even though it was 60 hours. Now I can beat it in about 15 hours because I know where everything is because it doesn't randomize anything. Although that's one of the mods I downloaded was a randomizer. I'm like, that'd be awesome. Give it some more replayability to the game, but it doesn't randomize like I thought it would. What I thought it would do is change where stuff is located in the game, so I have to actually explore again to find it. I don't know where all the stuff is by default, but it doesn't do that. All the stuff is still located in the same place. What it does is it randomizes what the recipes, what ingredients each thing takes to build. So I started off and I'm like, what the heck is this? Why do I need this random item to build one of the most basic things? And I turned it off immediately because basically one of the most common things you need to build in the game, the ingredient you needed to build it was one of the items you don't get until very late in the game. It's I literally can't beat the game if I wanted to because I can't get to the area of the game I need to find this ingredient to build the super basic component. So I immediately turned off that randomizer because it didn't operate like I thought it would. There may be another randomizer out there that I don't know of that works like the way I think it is, think it should, and I would be happy to try that one out. But yeah, that randomizer was not the type of randomizer I thought it was. I was like, oh, randomizer, and just assumed it would work that way and downloaded it without reading the fine print. I'm like, oh, because I thought my game was broken at first. I'm like, what the heck is this? And I'm like, oh, because I had put a bunch of mods on at the same time, so I didn't think it was a mod. I thought the combination of all my mods broke it. I'm like, oh, it's the randomizer one. I turned it off and everything went back to normal. But yes, I will watch you play Subnautica because I love it.
Maybe one of these days I'll come back to it and beat it.
So yeah, if you ever need any tips, let me know. I'd be happy to provide input on it.
I wonder if I'd even be able to remember how to play the game coming in halfway through the save again.
Yeah, that was because when I was first becoming friends with Salty Nerd podcast, Alex, the Salty Nerd himself, is a big fan of Subnautica as well, and he did a couple of Subnautica streams like this is probably like a year ago or longer. And so that was one thing that we really bonded over, and I became friends with him because of that. But he's like, yeah, I played it when it first came out, years ago, and then playing it like a year ago was like the first time he had played it since. So a lot of stuff had changed. And I was like, oh, you should go do this, and you should go do this. And he hasn't done a Subnautica stream in forever, and now he's like addicted to Helldivers.
Yeah, most people are these days.
Yeah, I need to play more Helldivers, but like I said earlier, it's just not one of those things I'm going to play by myself. But if anyone wants to play some Helldivers with me, yeah, I'd be happy to. Just I'm never going to jump in on my own.
Right.
Because I got a lot of stuff I need to do, and I'm pretty low level. Like I said, I'm only still level 15 or something. So I have a long ways to go. But it has been fun because I often say, I'm not a big fan of PvP stuff, like fighting against other people, but I love co-op multiplayer. My single favorite game of all time, I often mention, is Mass Effect 3. Freaking love that. And the co-op multiplayer is the single multiplayer mode I've spent more time in than any other multiplayer ever. I've got
that one was fun.
I love Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. I still play it pretty regularly to this day. I haven't played it in probably about a month and a half or 2 months, so it's been a little while. I usually play it probably about twice a month, basically since it came out. I think the longest amount of time I didn't play it was probably 6 months. I love it, and I've put hundreds of hours in multiplayer. And then
I don't want to go back and replay all the Mass Effects again.
Yeah, I have the Legendary Edition. I've not played it yet, but I'm very much looking forward to playing because I haven't played through the campaigns in them in a long time.
Yeah,
and I am very much looking forward to playing through the campaigns again. But that's another thing. Like Subnautica, if anyone ever wants to play Mass Effect 3 multiplayer with me, let me know. I am always down to play Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. I love it.
Nice.
And another co-op game that I got into because of some of my buddies and I had a lot of fun with was Ghost Recon Wildlands. That was a lot of fun in co-op.
I never played that.
Yeah, I only played it because they were playing it. They got me into it, and because I was never planning on playing it, and I had a lot of fun playing it. And they were already well into the game, and they basically started over to play with me because they're like, "Yeah, we love this game, and now glad that you're playing it now." So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, so all that to say is Helldivers is right up my alley. I love co-op, and now that I've got Ghost of Tsushima, and that multiplayer is all co-op as well. And played it for a few hours this weekend for the first time. That was a lot of fun. It's got a very similar gameplay loop to Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. Of got a couple different classes, and you can upgrade them and unlock all sorts of new abilities and get better gear and stuff. And I'm very much looking forward to playing more Ghost of Tsushima as well. That's what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about what you've been playing lately. Is I've been playing a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima, not as much as I'd like, just because I've been really tired, and so I'm I'm not going to get into something that is one of those ones where you don't really have an ending point, and you could just keep playing it for long periods of time. So it's I'm kind of tired, so I'm not going to play something long. I'm going to play something short. So basically, what I've been playing the most of lately has been Tony Hawk 1+2 Remastered. Because I picked that. Cool. I've been because I picked it up not long after release. I thought that game only came out a year ago. I was looking at it the other day. That game came out in late 2020. That game is already almost 4 years old. It's oh my goodness.
I remember playing some Tony Hawk game a long time ago. I don't even remember what platform it was on. I just remember being super addicted to it.
If you could describe something about it, I might be able to tell you because I've played a lot of the Tony Hawk games.
I don't think I remember any details of it. Maybe it was PS2 times or something like that.
Okay.
Didn't they have Tony Hawk games back then?
Yeah, the first Tony Hawk was on N64 and PS1.
Oh, no kidding. Maybe it was PS1 that I played it then.
Because I played Tony Hawk 1 on N64. I played Tony Hawk 2 on Game Boy Advance, and then I played Tony Hawk 3 on GameCube. And I remember it was a GameCube launch title because I remember coming home with my GameCube on launch day playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. That game, those are both great games.
Which I think I forgot to mention that I owned a N64, by the way.
Okay.
Definitely played a lot of that.
What are a couple of your favorite N64 games?
I mean, obviously GoldenEye.
Did you ever play Perfect Dark?
No, I never did actually.
bummer.
Everyone always told me later that it was good. And I was like, well, shit, where were you when I had it?
Yeah, because I was always upset that Perfect Dark never got anywhere near the recognition that GoldenEye did, because I've always said that Perfect Dark took everything GoldenEye did and did it better, because it's the spiritual successor. It's the same people, same developers made it, and some of the same guns and maps that are in GoldenEye are even in Perfect Dark. And it's just a great game. It did well, but nowhere near as the level of GoldenEye, and it was a bummer because it was better in basically every way.
Yeah. I mean, GoldenEye was a good movie at the time too. So
yeah, and GoldenEye is one of those few games where the game, because there's the curse, video game or movie-based video games have the curse of typically being terrible.
Yeah.
And the game and the movie in that one are both great.
Yeah, they defied all logic on that one. Yeah, because I mean, how many movies or video games are good that clash together?
Yeah,
There's
one of the
very
ones
few.
that doesn't fit that description, but where the game was better than the movie, and I always shot it at, and I've talked about it on Party Chat, it was one of our topics before, was good movie-based games. And one of the best was the X-Men Origins Wolverine game. That movie was terrible, but that game was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, probably Resident Evil, because like Resident Evil movies weren't terrible.
Well, I don't know if yes, but I don't know if I'd really count that, because the movies existed only because of the game.
Right.
I'm talking about that the games existed because of the movie existing first.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've never been into Resident Evil, since horror's never really been my thing. I've seen most of the movies, but I haven't played any of the games except for most of RE4. But I would say that those games are definitely better than their movies, since the movies aren't great. They're fun, but they're not great.
There's a game being made around the movie Dune, and it's the same developers that made that Conan game.
Oh, Conan Exiles is making a Dune game?
And it actually looks like pretty interesting from the trailer. So,
is it an MMO?
Yes.
Interesting.
So it kind of has like a Rust feel to it, where it's like every man for himself type of thing, and it's a survival game. So
I had not heard about that.
Yeah, so that might be interesting. But yeah, no, you're right. Generally, games that come after movies are
typically pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Weasel saying that the Perfect Dark is not remade, but it's like a reboot of the series, is by Crystal Dynamics, and that game has been in development hell, so I don't really have high hopes for it. I liked Perfect Dark Zero, which was the sequel, which was actually a prequel because it takes place earlier in the timeline than the original Perfect Dark, and it was a launch title for 360. I liked it, but it wasn't a great game. The original Perfect Dark was definitely a better game. But I am definitely looking forward to playing this new Perfect Dark that they're calling a quadruple A game, and I hope it doesn't follow the quadruple A game of Skull and Bones, which was a disaster.
If they're calling it a quadruple A game, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's at least decent. I will definitely play it because I love Perfect Dark. The original Perfect Dark was literally my favorite game of all time for nearly a decade. So I hope it's at least okay and doesn't totally suck.
They'll run it through the unfun filter. Trust me.
I bet they will, but I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope for the best.
I just expect nothing and get surprised once in a while by something good.
Yeah, if you keep your expectations low, occasionally something will meet or exceed your expectations.
Like I was totally blown away by like Lethal Company. I put a lot of hours into that game with my friends, and that was just a blast.
Okay, I know Paul and the Company Boys, which is Insidious Bliss and DJ Axis, have been doing that occasionally, but I have not actually seen it myself. So, but they seem to be having fun with it, and it seems like, yeah, actually having fun with it.
Yeah,
that's the important part. So, but yeah, the main thing I've been playing was the Tony Hawk 1+2, and that's because not long ago I did a roulette stream, and the roulette wheel happened to land on Tony Hawk, and so I played it. And I'm like, I gotta get back and playing this. So I've been keeping it in my quick resume, and they've added some stuff to the game since it came out, because I didn't realize it, because I'm such a frugal gamer. I typically don't buy games until they're like a year later and they're 50% off with all their DLC included. And then even at that point, I use my Microsoft points to buy it, so I'm spending almost nothing out of pocket. I didn't realize it, but I bought this game basically at launch. I bought it like a week after it came out, which is very unlike me. I was surprised when I realized that the other day, because I was looking at when I got the first achievement was like a week after its launch date, and I'm like, that's very unlike me. But I love the Tony Hawk games, so but I played it for a good amount of time right when it came out, and then I basically didn't touch it again until a few weeks ago, and it kind of sparked that, lit that fire again. I'm like, God, I want to play more of this. So I've been keeping my quick resume, and because I had probably about 80% of the achievements, and as of last night, I have all but 2 of the achievements now. And some of those late ones I've just been kind of chipping away at over the last couple of weeks, playing a little bit here and a little bit there, because I've been going through and trying to complete all the challenges with all the different skaters. And I still got quite a few skaters to go. And then I realized, because when the game first came out, you know how it originally in the Tony Hawk games, like each skate park has like 10 or so goals where you have to, get 50,000 points, collect all of the items that are, collect 5 of this item, spell the letters or spell the word skate, do a specific trick off of this gap or whatever, and each park has a different set of those. In the Tony Hawk 1+2, when it first came out, you could do that for each skate park, but you could only do it once. If you switch to another skater, it still already had all those goals completed. And somewhere along the line of when I stopped playing it, not, a few months after it came out, and then when I picked it back up, they added in a new mode that I didn't know about, that basically you can play through all the skate parks with each character and get all those goals again. So I've been working through that as well too. And that's been fun. So, but I still got so much to do in that game, even though I only have 2 achievements left, because there are so many like challenges to complete. There's like 860 challenges in the game. I think I'm at like 430. So there's still a long ways to go. Yeah. So I've been keeping it in the quick resume and chipping away at it a little bit here and there.
Well, try getting all the achievements in Factorio. That was a fun one.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Subnautica, or not Subnautica, Satisfactory first. I'm like, Satisfactory doesn't have achievements, although I'm hoping that they add it when 1.0 finally releases.
I love the achievement stuff, personally.
So since you've played some stuff on Xbox, do you have a gamer tag?
I do. What is
you don't have to share it if you don't want. I'm just curious if you have one. Maybe we can connect and play something at some point.
I long lost my old gamer tag, and I just recently bought an Xbox Series X just so I could play Blops that I found in my garage. So.
Okay. Oh, you mentioned that on Party Chat the other day.
Yeah. So, yep.
But yeah,
had to make a whole new account because I couldn't figure out the old one. So.
That's right. But yeah, I'm really hoping that they added Steam achievements on the 1.0 release. Do you have any wishes or hopes for or suggestions for 1.0 release of Satisfactory, or a guess on when that's going to be? Because everyone's still speculating on when the 1.0 is going to be. We're just know it's going to be this year at some point.
I think it'll be probably this summer, possibly late by like November or something like that. But I just hope they do something with those summer sloops that you can find out in the world, because right now the only reason to go exploring is to get those hard drives from the crashed ships.
Yeah, so you can get alternate recipes,
which you can kind of bypass currently by using blueprints that you download. So,
because I've not done that, so I've not even thought about that.
If you make a factory that has a blueprint that utilizes an alternate recipe, that recipe is unlocked for you for that building that you make.
Interesting. I did not know that.
So So it's kind of cheating.
Okay. I don't think I've downloaded any blueprints. I've only made my own, and I've only done like one or two of them.
Yeah, I've tried making my own, but it's fun to try out other people's to see how they did theirs, and like there are some people that put a lot of thought into it. Let me tell you, it's where you're like, man, I didn't even think about that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how efficient people can make their factories in like a small space. So
Yeah, I kind of briefly mentioned it on Party Chat the other day, but and I mentioned earlier tonight that Satisfactory is one of the few subreddits that I visit, and it's crazy. People posting their insane factory builds.
man.
It's like we are not playing the same game because you're just on like a godlike level compared to my pathetic, measly factories, if you can even call it that, compared to what you're building. It's like you look like you actually work in like architecture, because I like mine like is just a big square and stuff goes in and stuff comes out, and they've got these people that like look these factories that look amazing. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that, and you guys spend all this crazy amount of time making your factories look amazing.
I was gonna say, I think the people that make some of those giant factories, the ones that look good, don't have a job.
Satisfactory is their job.
They got like tens of thousands of hours in it.
Yeah, there's so many people that have like thousands of hours in this game, and it's still in early access.
Yeah, but no, I want to build another dedicated server for that game and like open it up to like our Discord or something like that. That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be sweet. I'd definitely be down for that.
Yeah, because I mean, playing with other people in games is just more fun.
Yeah, definitely don't disagree with you there. And I just realized that I mentioned that Satisfactory wrap, but I will also put the link to that in the stream description. Even if you're not into Satisfactory, I recommend checking out. It's only a couple minutes, and it's a really good music video, even if you don't really know anything about the game.
Oh yeah, I think I pulled it up. I didn't watch it yet.
Yeah, so I will include the link to that in the stream description as well, so you can check that out. Let me copy that link while I've got it pulled up and put it here on my notepad so I can paste it in later. So,
but yeah, if I always said that if that game Satisfactory or even Factorio was the game that I played growing up, I probably would have made a different career choice. Like because I find it so fun that I feel like I would have changed my career to being one of those like people that designs the machinery that like does the Amazon boxing and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like production line stuff. I think that's fun.
Turning your Satisfactory obsession into like a real life job in an automated Amazon packing facility.
And it's funny because like I go to these machine gun groups where we do machine gun competitions, and one of the guys there is he's an actual engineer for the assembly line for Amazon boxing. Like he works on the machines that like makes the boxes.
Interesting.
Like folds the bottom so that you can put stuff in it, and then it closes them and sends it off, type of stuff. Yeah.
That's to get too much off topic, but have you seen the South Park episode where the guy in the Amazon facility gets stuck in a box and they can't open the box, otherwise his guts will fall out and he'll die?
No, I don't think I saw that one. When was that?
It was a recent season, like within the last like it was in one of the seasons, because basically like for the last year or so they haven't done any seasons. They've just been doing these specials, but within one of the last seasons or two before they kind of went on this special every few months, it was in there somewhere. But yeah, it was all about the dangers of like AI.
That's funny.
And there was an accident at the Amazon facility and he got stuck in a box. They can't open the box, otherwise his guts will spill out and he'll die. So he just is an Amazon box that talks, because there's basically the remains of a person in it.
Oh, South Park. But one of the greatest ones was the World of Warcraft episode, I think.
Oh, I love that episode.
How do you kill that which has no life?
No life. I quote that every once in a while. Sword of 1,000 truths. But so one of the things that I've seen on the Satisfactory subreddit is someone who played the game, whose dad was like an actual, what was it, an architect, or maybe they were a nuclear reactor tech or something along the line, something that's actually in the game. And it was funny hearing, not funny, but it was interesting the stuff that he was saying in the subreddit about the game versus, his dad or brother or somebody who knows about one of the aspects that's in the game compared to how it is in real life, and kind of hearing the differences.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember reading that. I was like, oh, that's really fascinating.
Where did he say that it was complete garbage?
I don't. I think it was more so like, actually some of this is actually pretty accurate.
Interesting. That's kind of cool.
And I don't remember exactly what the details of it were, or even what field he was in, but I remember it was one of the things that was in game, and it was being kind of looked at from the perspective of someone that actually does something similar to that in real life, and kind of getting their input on it was interesting.
I like it when they do research and base games or movies off of real life things,
Yeah. Definitely. So, all right. Well, I think that's probably a good place to call it for the night.
I'm getting pretty sleepy.
Yeah, it is. For us, it's only like 12:30, but for a lot of other people are a few hours ahead. Paul's, God, he's a freaking night owl because he's central, so he's 2 hours ahead, and he's still always up. And he goes on. Well, it's on hiatus right now, but he's on Beelzebub, which starts at midnight on Friday night, Saturday mornings, which is 2 a.m. for him, and often goes for like 2 or 3 hours. Paul's nuts. He might be a vampire. He's up all night and sleeps during the day.
Well, we had Norman Conquest on our show, and he came out of the bag and said that he actually flipped his sleep schedule completely because he lives in Britain, and he flipped it so that his American audience is at the same time.
Okay, I'm like, where are you going with this? Oh, for the audience, that makes sense. That's hilarious.
Because we're like, man, it must be really tiring for you right now. He's like, no, I don't go to bed for another few hours. So
that's great.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's like I've never paid as much attention to time zones as I have since starting my channel. Which, speaking of starting my channel anniversary is in a couple weeks, on the 29th, which is 3 weeks from now that it's past midnight tomorrow. So I'm looking to do some fun stuff on Party Chat that day, and after that, to celebrate 1 year of essentially being on YouTube. A year since my first stream, since I don't really do videos or anything. I've done a couple videos, but that's not really my thing, just because it takes so much time, and live streams are so much easier. So, but yeah, I'm coming up on my anniversary, and then a few days later is my birthday. So it'll be a fun week of fun stuff. I've got some giveaways planned. I've got some codes to give away for some games. So if there's anyone who's still here, come check that out, and I'll be giving some stuff away and having some fun stuff planned. Still trying to figure out exactly what I'm doing for that, but I've got some good ideas. But
sweet.
What was I just gonna say? Talking about time. Oh yeah, time zones, because most people that I interact with are here in the States. So, and given that I'm Pacific time zone, a lot of them are 2-3 hours ahead of me. But one of my other good buddies, Angry Canadian, is in Japan, so he's like 16 hours ahead. So
he's an angry Canadian, but he's in Japan.
Yeah.
Is that why he's angry?
He moved to no, well, he went to Japan because of being in the military, and he just decided to stay.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, he's like 15 or 16 hours ahead. So scheduling stuff with him can be a little difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times it works out well because it's late at night here, and it's like the middle of the afternoon for him. So, yeah,
that's fun.
Time zones are great. So, all right. Well, I've had a blast talking to you. If you ever want to come on and shoot the breeze some more, let me know. That's the whole point of open mic. And that goes for, I often forget to mention it, but anyone in the chat, if you want to come on and talk video games with me, let me know. That's what open mic is for, or Party Chat. So yeah, check out some of my streams, and I'll let you do your spiel first.
Sure. So I do Off the Hip with ABF on Monday evenings. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We talk about basically gaming news. So anything that's new, we'll occasionally talk about just games that we're playing or things we're looking forward to, or just get into the nostalgia. Because as you know, talking about video games, you kind of go all over the place. So, but yeah, we do that with a panel of 4, 5, 6, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, so I've got the link to your channel preloaded into the stream description, but I did just drop it in chat as well. If anyone isn't sub to him, go give Alec Baldwin's Finger sub. He's got some fun stuff, and I'm hoping if he'll have me to be on some of his streams in the future.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but yeah, I've had a great time having you on Party Chat a few days ago. Had a great time chatting with you tonight, man. Time always flies. We're almost at 3 hours, and it seems like we just started.
Pretty much.
So. But yeah, that is Alec Baldwin's Finger. Go check him out. He's a good dude. And for me, like I said, I've got my anniversary coming up in a few weeks, my channel anniversary, and then birthday's a couple days later. And if you aren't familiar with me and it's the first time joining, I saw a few new names tonight. Typically every Thursday night, I do this open mic where I typically have a guest, sometimes more than one guest, but typically one guest. And we just shoot the breeze about video games and have a fun discussion. Every other Saturday morning, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, I have Party Chat, where myself and my co-host Ryan from Legion Games and Mark the Cyborg and a guest host every week, and we talk about fun video game topics like the hardest game you ever beat, or most annoying sidekicks, or fun video game topics like that. And then I do a monthly show with a guy I mentioned earlier who has 100% in the Master Chief Collection. And another thing I forgot to mention, he has Gears Seriously achievements in Gears 1, 2, and 3, which those achievements are nuts. And that is Dude 1286. Since he's an achievement hunter, we do an achievement hunting podcast once a month. We talk about what achievements hunting we did over the last month. And then not long ago, probably about 2 months ago now, Jason Tongate, who is in chat, he's my co-host. We started a show called Top 5, where we have some panelists on, and we rank our own personal top 5 favorite of whatever the topic is. We've done top 5 Zelda games. We've done top 5 Metroidvania games. We did a top 5 last week. Yeah, last week, where we ranked our top 5 favorite Star Wars characters. And then the one before that, to keeping with the Star Wars theme for May, we did top 5 favorite Star Wars video games. So if anyone wants to be a panelist on that or has any ideas to suggest for topics, let me know. We're always open to ideas and having panelists on. And we're also open to revisiting topics we've already done with new panelists, because it's the panelists that make that show fun. So if that sounds interesting, go check that out. And I've got playlists for all those. If you want to go and put them on, they're great to listen to in the background, since you don't really need to see what's going on. And our next episode of Top 5 is going to be next Tuesday. Right now, there's just 4 of us, so we've got room for a couple more panels. If anyone wants to join us, we're going to be ranking our top 5 favorite video game franchises. So if anyone wants to join us for that, let me know. That'll be on Tuesday. What's the date for that? Tuesday the 11th at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. So if you want to come rank your top 5 favorite video game franchises with us, let me or Jason know. We'll be happy to have you on. So yeah, that's about all I got to spiel for tonight, to shill for myself. I had a great time chatting with you. Thanks for coming on, man. You've been great. And everyone else that joined me in the chat, thanks for hanging out with us for a minute or a couple hours. It was great chatting with all you guys and seeing a lot of you. You guys make the show as fun as it is as well. So thanks for hanging out. We will catch you all later, everyone. In the meantime, game on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on. And like I said, guests are always welcome. And here we go. I forgot to queue up my video, so we'll see y'all later.